Wait a minute, I already told you. I didn't cheat on my husband. I insisted, my voice trembling with a mix of frustration and disbelief. But my mother-in-law and husband were relentless, their accusations flying as if they were undeniable truths. No, it's not like that at all, I quickly denied, trying to make them understand. But my mother-in-law wasn't having any of it. My son is sterile, she declared, her voice cold and unwavering. So there's no way you could be pregnant. If we got a medical certificate, it would prove your affair, though we don't even need one. It's perfectly obvious. Before I could respond, my mother's hand suddenly struck my face with a stinging slap, silencing me. I turned to my parents, hoping for support, but they just stared back at me, their expressions distant and disapproving. My name is Anna. I'm a 34-year-old office worker, and last year, after several years of dating, I married William. We both have careers, so we share the household chores, maintaining a balanced and stress-free life. William is amazing. He can cook, clean, and do laundry, and I'm truly grateful for that. Our newlywed life has been blissful, and I was certain it would continue this way. From the moment we got married, I've wanted to have children. In my 20s, I was all about my career, but seeing my friends happily raising their kids made me long for one of my own. But now, as I approach my mid-30s, conceiving has proven difficult. Though our marriage has been full of happiness, there have been moments of deep discouragement. Still, I held on to hope that we'd one day be blessed with a baby. Then, one morning, I woke up feeling nauseous. Could it be? I grabbed a test kit, my heart racing, and when the results showed positive, I was in shock. Could I really be pregnant? Shaken but hopeful, I called in late to work and rushed to the hospital. Yes, you're definitely pregnant, the doctor confirmed with a warm smile. I can hear the baby's heartbeat. Are you sure? I asked, barely able to believe it. Absolutely. You're in your 3rd month. Congratulations. You should get your maternity handbook too. I couldn't hold back my tears of joy. I was over the moon and couldn't wait to share the news with William. On my way home, I stopped by the supermarket, picking up food with a heart full of excitement. I imagined William's reaction, hoping he'd be just as overjoyed as I was. Maybe he'd even cry, and we'd embrace in happiness. Even after I got home, I couldn't stop smiling. I cooked dinner in the best mood, anticipating his arrival. Finally, when William walked through the door that night, he noticed the feast I'd prepared. Wow, dinner looks amazing today, he said, loosening his tie. I couldn't stop smiling as I looked at him, eager to share the news. Guess what? I'm pregnant, I announced, expecting an outburst of joy. Instead, his face froze in surprise. What? Pregnant? I nodded, waiting for the happiness to sink in, but his reaction took an unexpected turn. Whose baby is it? He asked, his voice sharp and cold. What? I stammered, taken aback. I asked you whose child it is, he repeated, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. What's wrong with you? Of course, it's yours, I said, my voice trembling with confusion. He sighed heavily, shaking his head. I'm sterile. What? I whispered, my heart sinking. So, it's not mine, he continued, a note of finality in his tone. I had no idea you were having an affair. I'm disappointed. Wait a minute, I'm not having an affair. This baby is yours, I insisted, desperation creeping into my voice. But he wouldn't listen. Just give me some time. I'm going back to my parents' house, he said, turning away. He left without even touching the meal I had prepared, and the door closed behind him with a sense of finality. A few days later, my husband called my parents, saying he wanted to talk with them. I begged him to discuss it with me alone first, but he ignored my pleas. So we agreed to meet at my parents' house the coming Saturday. The anxiety gnawed at me, and I couldn't sleep, my mind racing with dread over what was to come. I struggled to explain the situation to my parents, and when my in-laws arrived, my mother couldn't hold back any longer. What's going on? She asked, her voice laced with concern. My mother-in-law responded with icy detachment. What? You mean your daughter hasn't told you anything? I heard she's pregnant, but it's not my son's. My parents froze, shock etched on their faces. My father, still in disbelief, muttered, I never imagined Anna would cheat on him. I guess I was the only one who thought they had a strong marriage. Wait a minute, I interjected, my voice shaking. I told you before, I didn't have an affair. But my mother-in-law and husband had already made up their minds, assuming I was at fault without question. No, my mother-in-law continued, her tone accusatory. My son is sterile, so there's no way she could be pregnant. A medical certificate would prove the affair. But we don't even need that. It's obvious. As I tried to defend myself, my mother suddenly slapped me, the sting of her hand leaving me speechless. I turned to my parents, hoping for some semblance of support, but they both stared at me with cold, unfeeling eyes. My husband and mother-in-law exchanged smug looks, their expressions filled with disdain. Well, you deserve that slap, my mother-in-law sneered. You committed adultery and never even had the decency to apologize. To my horror, my mother bowed her head and quietly said, I'm sorry, as if accepting their version of the story without question. I apologize, I said, my voice trembling. Come on, you two. Apologize quickly, my mother urged, her tone sharp. My father followed suit, bowing his head to my mother-in-law and husband. I'm sorry for all the trouble my daughter has caused, he said, grabbing my head and forcing me to bow in submission. I brushed my father's hand away, desperate to make them listen. Please just hear me out for a minute, I pleaded, but they refused, their anger only growing. You've brought shame upon this family, my father shouted in front of my mother-in-law and husband. You're no daughter of mine. My mother-in-law and husband exchanged smug looks, their laughter ringing in my ears. Oh my, they disowned you, my mother-in-law sneered. Well, you got what you deserved. Just then, the living room door creaked open, and my sister walked in, her face a mask of concern. Dad, Mom, please calm down, she urged, her voice steady. Finally, a glimmer of hope, but my father turned his anger on her. How can you stay so calm after hearing all this? And this is none of your business. We're family, it's very much my business, my sister replied firmly. And before you arrived, I spoke with Anna. Is it true, William? Are you sterile? My mother-in-law and husband exchanged uneasy glances, clearly caught off guard. Could it be that your sister suspects us, William? My mother-in-law asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. No, of course not, William replied, but maybe it's time we address this with some facts. My sister remained calm, ready to uncover the truth. When did you have the examination? My sister asked, her voice laced with suspicion. My husband and mother-in-law exchanged uneasy glances. He hasn't had any tests, my mother-in-law admitted. What? I froze, disbelief washing over me. My sister looked equally stunned. Then how can you be so sure he's sterile? My mother-in-law bristled. Are you trying to intimidate us? He hasn't been tested, but it's true, she insisted. How can you be so certain? My sister pressed, her tone unwavering. With an exasperated sigh, my mother-in-law began to explain. My son was married once before when he was young. They were together for 7 years, and she never got pregnant. But right after their divorce, his ex-wife conceived. Clearly, my son was the reason they couldn't have children. Now do you believe me? She demanded, her voice dripping with certainty. This proves that he's sterile, and that you must be cheating on him. She looked at me with utter contempt. The idea that you'd cheat on my son and still want to stay married to him is repulsive. You're a disgusting woman, you know that. My husband nodded in agreement, his expression mirroring his mother's disdain. Yes, you are. You've even dared to bear a child that I couldn't have. You've insulted me beyond words. I was utterly mortified. That wasn't proof that my husband was sterile, but I didn't have the knowledge to argue back. Desperate, I glanced at my sister, silently pleading for her help. She noticed my distress, gave me a reassuring nod, and began speaking again. I understand why you might think there's an issue given your past experience, she said calmly. But you can't definitively say your son is sterile based on that alone. There are couples who have children after 10 years of marriage without any fertility treatments. My mother-in-law scoffed, cutting her off. Don't try to lecture me with something you found on the internet. You're not a doctor, so what you say doesn't mean a thing. I wondered if my mother-in-law had paid attention at all when she met my family. My sister is a doctor and an obstetrician, my sister replied, her voice firm. Both my mother-in-law and husband were taken aback. What? They exclaimed in unison. I was stunned, too. It was clear they hadn't really listened when my sister had introduced herself before the wedding. Still incredulous, my sister continued, I explained this to you when we met before their marriage. You're speculating about this whole situation. It seems you're blaming my sister based on nothing but assumptions. She paused, then added, If you really want to accuse her, then let's do a proper examination. Since we're family, I'll do it for a reasonable price. When my sister made her suggestion, both my husband and mother-in-law flinched, but it seemed there was no turning back now. If you insist, let's get it checked out. My husband finally agreed, and my mother-in-law reluctantly nodded in agreement. The tests were conducted, and I decided to stay at my sister's house until the results came in. I couldn't bear to see my husband or return to my parents' home. My sister did her best to cheer me up during those days, helping to keep my mind from spiraling into worry. A few weeks later, the results were ready. We gathered at my parents' house to review them together. The tests confirmed that there was nothing wrong with my husband. My mother-in-law's face turned pale, and my husband looked genuinely surprised. "Anna, I'm sorry," he said, "but I'm glad to know that there's nothing wrong with me and that I can prove the child is mine." He said it so matter-of-factly that I was left speechless. Was this the same person who had accused me so easily, who had sided with his mother based on nothing but assumptions? My mother-in-law, instead of apologizing, laughed awkwardly and said, if this was how it was going to turn out, we should have done the test earlier. She offered no apology, and it was clear she had no intention of doing so. "I guess that settles it," my husband said, sounding oddly proud of himself. I realized I couldn't stay with a man like this any longer. My husband, assuming everything was settled, said, "Let's go home together," but I couldn't bring myself to leave with him. Sensing my hesitation, my sister intervened. "I don't think she's ready to go home yet. She'll stay with me for a while," she said. He reluctantly agreed, and finally my husband and mother-in-law left my parents' house. "What a pair," my mother muttered after they left. "They nearly fooled us too. I'm sorry for slapping you the other day, but this is all their fault." While my parents now blamed my husband and mother-in-law, I couldn't help but feel they were partially at fault too. My sister took me back to her apartment, and the moment we arrived, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I broke down in tears. My sister didn't say a word, she just held me, comforting me in silence. I was terrified by how everyone had doubted me, looking at me with cold suspicion. In the midst of all that, my sister was the only one who stood by my side. I was so grateful that I had confided in her the day before the meeting at our parents' house. She went out of her way to come and support me, and I couldn't thank her enough. I stayed with my sister for a few days to recover, both physically and mentally. During that time, I made a decision. Together with my sister, I went to the house where my husband was staying. When he opened the door and saw me, he said, "Welcome home. I've been waiting for you." But his smile faded when he noticed my sister and another person standing beside me. Who's this?" he asked, confused. "This is my lawyer," I replied calmly. "Lawyer?" My husband's face went pale. "Why did you bring a lawyer?" "I can't live with you anymore. I'm here to ask for a divorce." He looked shocked, panic washing over his face. "Wait, what? This is so sudden. You can't just ask for a divorce out of nowhere." "It's not sudden," I said firmly. "After everything that's happened, this is the only option." The lawyer stepped in, explaining, "The fact that you and your mother accused Anna without any basis is grounds for divorce, and the fact that you concealed your supposed infertility from her, knowing she wanted children, is a significant issue." I don't think my husband expected this outcome at all. He nodded, but he seemed to be in shock. With him standing aside, I packed up my belongings and returned to my sister's house. After that, all communication with my husband was handled through my lawyer. I demanded compensation for the emotional pain and suffering he had caused me, as well as a fair division of property and child support. Thanks to my skilled lawyer, I was able to secure all of these. On top of that, my mother-in-law and husband had spread rumors in our neighborhood and at his workplace, claiming I was having an affair. I sued them for defamation of character. Not only did I receive additional compensation, but they were also forced to retract their statements and apologize to everyone they had misled. As a result, both my husband and mother-in-law lost all credibility and have since become socially isolated. I decided to rent an apartment just down the street from my sister's house. My parents offered for me to move back home so they could help raise their grandchild, but I politely declined. I didn't want them, who failed to protect me, to take care of my child. In fact, my sister had also experienced similar disappointment with our parents, who were more concerned about their social image than their children's well-being. She too has chosen to keep her distance from them. While I am grateful to my parents for supporting my education, I can't overlook how they failed me in this situation. I'll maintain a minimal relationship with them out of respect, but I'm deeply disappointed. For now, it's enough for me to have a sister who truly cares about me and stands by my side. I will always do my best to support her as well. My priority now is to be strong for the sake of my unborn child. The betrayal from my husband and mother-in-law was terrible, but the way my own parents turned against me without even listening was just as painful. I'm so grateful to have a wonderful sister who stood by me through it all. Being a single mother won't be easy, but with her support, I know I'll be fine. I'll cherish the bond we share and focus on living a happy life, one day at a time.
I never thought I'd be the kind of person writing about family drama on the internet. But here I am, shaking as I type this. Funny how life works. 1 minute you're transferring your life savings to help someone you love, and the next, you're blocked on every social media platform they have. My name is Yolanda, and I just spent $48,317.68 funding my sister's IVF journey. Every penny I had, plus some I didn't. You're the only one I can trust, Amelia had sobbed into my shoulder 6 months ago, mascara staining my white blouse. Clay left me right before the final round. Who does that? I held her that night as she fell apart in my living room, surrounded by half-empty wine glasses and crumpled tissues. Her husband had packed his bags and disappeared, leaving nothing but a note about needing space and reconsidering parenthood. I'll help you, I promised, stroking her hair. Whatever you need. The next morning, we met with her fertility specialist, Dr. Patterson. I'll never forget how Amelia's hands trembled as she explained her situation. Without your husband's insurance, Dr. Patterson started. I'll cover it, I interrupted. All of it. Amelia's head snapped up. Yolanda, no, that's too much. It's not. I pulled out my checkbook. How much for the next round? That became our routine. Every appointment, every procedure, every medication, I wrote the checks. I liquidated my investment portfolio, took out a personal loan, even sold my car for a cheaper model. Mia, my best friend, thought I was crazy. You need to protect yourself, she warned over coffee. Get everything in writing. I laughed it off. She's my sister, Mia. We don't need paperwork. But Mia insisted, and thank God she did. She drew up loan documents, payment schedules, everything. Amelia signed them without hesitation, too focused on the treatments to care. Once I'm working again, I'll pay you back every cent, she promised, hugging me after each signing. You're going to be the best aunt ever. The day we got the positive pregnancy test, Amelia screamed so loud the nurse dropped her clipboard. We jumped up and down in that sterile office like teenagers, crying and laughing. I couldn't have done this without you, Amelia whispered, clutching my hands. You're going to be there for everything. First ultrasound, gender reveal, birth, everything. That night, we stayed up late on my couch, planning nursery themes and scrolling through baby names. Amelia even suggested using my middle name as the baby's middle name. It felt perfect. Like everything I'd sacrificed had led to this moment. 3 days later, my text started going unanswered. Amelia? I called her on day 4. Straight to voicemail. By day 5, I noticed she'd unfriended me on Facebook, then Instagram, then everything. She's probably just overwhelmed, Mom said when I called her, but something in her voice seemed off. Give her space, Yolanda. This is a delicate time. I drove to Amelia's apartment that evening. Her car was there, lights on inside. I knocked. No answer. I could hear movement, voices. Amelia, please, just talk to me. The curtain twitched. I saw her silhouette, then nothing. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Stop harassing your sister. She told us everything. Everything? What everything? Another buzz. We know you're trying to take over her pregnancy. She needs peace right now. Leave her alone. I stood there in the growing darkness, staring at my phone as reality hit me. Amelia had spun some story, turned me into the villain, and our parents, like always, believed her without question. My phone buzzed one final time. Mia, check your email, now. There it was, a group message from Amelia to our entire extended family. I only needed to read the first line. I need to protect my miracle baby from toxic influences. I sank to the ground outside her door, my legs giving out as I scrolled through paragraph after paragraph of lies. According to Amelia, I was obsessed, controlling, trying to name her baby, demanding to be in the delivery room, threatening her with stress during her precious pregnancy. Not a single mention of the money, the loans, the sacrifices. My phone buzzed again. Mia, remember those documents we signed? Through my tears, I smiled. Because Mia was right. I had everything in writing, and my sister had no idea what was coming. The morning after discovering Amelia's email, my parents called for a family meeting. I knew exactly what was coming. I'd seen this pattern my entire life. Amelia creates chaos. Everyone rushes to protect her, and I'm somehow painted as the bad guy. I pulled into their driveway, gripping my steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Dad was already waiting on the porch, arms crossed. "Your mother's upset," he said as I approached. "No hello, no how are you. We need to fix this." The living room felt smaller than usual. Mom sat in her favorite armchair, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Amelia wasn't there, of course. She never had to face these confrontations in person. "Sit down, Yolanda," Mom gestured to the couch. "We need to discuss your behavior." I almost laughed. "My behavior?" "Amelia called me crying last night," Mom's voice cracked. "She said you're demanding to name her baby, that you're redecorating her nursery without permission, that you're telling everyone you'll be the baby's second mother." "None of that is true," I said quietly. "None of it." Dad shifted uncomfortably. "She showed us the texts." "What texts?" "The ones where you threatened to take her to court if she didn't let you be in the delivery room." This time I did laugh, pulling out my phone. "Show me these texts. Right now." Mom looked away. She deleted them. She was too upset to keep seeing them. How convenient. I opened my message thread with Amelia. "Here's our actual last conversation. 3 days ago, I asked if she wanted to grab lunch. She never responded. Before that, we were discussing nursery colors. That's it. You're making her pregnancy all about you," Mom suddenly burst out. "This is her miracle baby, her moment. Why can't you just be happy for her?" The words hit like a slap. I stood up, hands shaking. Happy for her? I made this happen for her. I paid for everything. "She said you offered," Dad interjected. "She said it was a gift." My phone buzzed. Mia was calling. I put her on speaker. "You're with them?" she asked. "Yes." "Perfect timing. I just emailed you the scanned copies of everything. Share them now." Mom's face tightened. "What copies?" I pulled out my iPad, opening my email. Every loan document, every payment record, every single dollar I spent making Amelia's miracle possible. "Loans?" Dad's voice wavered. "What loans?" I turned the screen toward them. $48,317.68. All documented, all signed by Amelia, all legally binding. The color drained from Mom's face as she scrolled through the PDFs. Payment schedules, repayment terms, Amelia's signature on every page. These could be fake," she whispered. Mia's voice crackled through the speaker. "I'm a lawyer, Mrs. Mitchell. I personally notarized every document. Would you like me to share the video recordings of the signings?" Silence filled the room. Dad sat heavily on the couch. "Why didn't Amelia tell us?" he muttered. "Because she never intended to pay me back," I said, my voice breaking. "She got what she wanted, and now she's trying to push me out completely." Mom started crying again, but this time there was anger in her tears. "You're going to sue your pregnant sister? Your own blood?" "I haven't decided what I'm going to do," I replied, gathering my things. But I want you both to think about something. While you're sitting here accusing me of being jealous and toxic, your precious Amelia is the one spreading lies, the one hiding truth, the one who took everything I had and threw me away. She's pregnant, Mom pleaded. She's emotional, hormonal. Stop making excuses for her, I shouted, finally snapping. For once in your lives, stop protecting her from consequences. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Your sister is devastated. How dare you show those private documents to your parents? You've ruined everything. I recognized Joanna's number, our family friend and Amelia's closest confidant. Of course, Amelia was already spinning this. I have to go, I said, heading for the door. But remember, I have proof of everything, every single thing. Dad called after me. Yolanda, wait. We can figure this out. I turned back one last time. No, Dad. I'm done figuring things out for Amelia. She wanted me gone? Fine. But she's about to learn that actions have consequences. As I drove away, my phone kept buzzing with messages from family members. I didn't need to read them to know what they said. The war had begun, and Amelia had fired the first shot. But she forgot one thing. I had the receipts. All of them. And I was done being the silent sister. Mia insisted we do this properly. If we're going to confront her, let's do it somewhere public, somewhere she can't twist the narrative. That's how we ended up at Salvatore's, the Italian restaurant where our family celebrated every major occasion. I reserved the private dining room, the same one where we toasted Amelia's wedding to Clay 3 years ago. Amelia arrived first, wearing a flowing maternity dress despite barely showing. Mom and Dad followed minutes later. I walked in with Mia, my manila folder clutched like a shield. Really? Amelia scoffed, eyeing Mia. You brought your attack dog lawyer? Mia smiled professionally. I'm here as a witness, Amelia. Nothing more. The waiter hadn't even finished pouring water when Amelia started. I can't believe you're doing this to me. To my baby. Doing what exactly? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Expecting you to honor our agreement? Agreement? She laughed sharply. You offered to help me. You said you wanted to be there for me. I opened my folder. Yes, I did. And you signed these documents agreeing to repay me once you were employed again. I was emotional. You took advantage. Stop. I slid the first document across the table. This is from the first consultation. You were perfectly clear-headed. Here's your signature, acknowledging the loan terms. Mom tried to intervene. Girls, please. And this, I continued, sliding another paper forward, is from 3 weeks later. Another clear acknowledgement of debt. And this one? The day before your successful implantation. Amelia's face flushed. Those were just formalities. You're my sister. Exactly. I'm your sister, who emptied her savings, sold her car, and took out personal loans to help you. And how did you repay me? By blocking me everywhere and spreading lies. You told everyone I was trying to steal your baby's name, that I was redecorating your nursery without permission, that I was threatening you. Dad cleared his throat. Amelia, is that true? Did you make those things up? Her lower lip trembled. Right on cue, the tears started. You don't understand. She was being so controlling, always there, always hovering. Because I cared, my voice cracked, because I sacrificed everything to help you. Mia quietly placed another document on the table. This is the total amount, $48,317.68. According to the signed agreements, repayment was to begin within 90 days of successful pregnancy confirmation. I'm not working, Amelia protested. I can't possibly. You started a mommy blog last week, I cut in. Already got 3 sponsorship deals. I saw the post before you blocked me. The color drained from her face. Plus, I continued, that new boyfriend of yours, Brody, he moved in pretty quick after Clay left. Funny how you could afford that nursery renovation right after he arrived. Mom gasped. You're renovating already? Amelia's tears dried instantly. You've been stalking me? Joanna talks a lot, I shrugged, especially after 2 glasses of wine. This is harassment. She stood up, hands protectively over her barely there bump. I won't sit here and let you stress out my miracle baby. Sit down, Mia said firmly, or the next conversation will be with the process server. Amelia slowly sank back into her chair. Here's what's going to happen, I said, pulling out one final document. You have 90 days to begin repayment. As originally agreed, $500 monthly minimum. Otherwise, we proceed with legal action. You wouldn't dare, she whispered. Try me. Mom started crying. Please, girls, we can work this out as a family. Family? I laughed bitterly. Amelia destroyed that when she decided to paint me as some crazy, obsessed sister, when she turned all of you against me without a second thought. I was protecting my baby. From what? From the person who made its existence possible? The silence that followed was deafening. Dad stared at his plate. Mom dabbed her eyes. Amelia's face had turned to stone. Fine, she finally said. I'll pay you back. Happy now? No, I replied honestly. I'm not happy. I'm heartbroken. And you know what the worst part is? I would have given you every cent freely if you just kept your promise. If you'd let me be part of this journey instead of throwing me away. I stood up, gathering my documents. You have 90 days, Amelia. Don't make me come collecting. As Mia and I walked out, I heard Amelia's voice, cold and clear. You've ruined everything. I turned back one last time. No, sister. You did that all by yourself. My phone was already buzzing with messages as we left the restaurant. The family grapevine would be burning up tonight. But for the first time since this all began, I didn't care. Let them talk. I had the truth. And more importantly, I had the receipts. The social media storm hit faster than I expected. Within hours of our dinner at Salvatore's, my phone exploded with notifications. Joanna, ever the town crier, had posted a carefully crafted version of events on Facebook. Praying for my dear friend during this difficult time. Some people just can't handle when others are blessed with miracles. Farner pregnancy journey, Yendra, family drama. The comments poured in. Who would sue their own pregnant sister? Money over family? Disgusting. Some people are just jealous they can't have their own kids. That last one stung particularly hard. Nobody except Mia knew about my own infertility diagnosis years ago. The real reason I wanted to help Amelia so badly. My phone rang. It was my cousin Rachel. How could you? She demanded before I could even say hello. Amelia's having panic attacks. Her blood pressure is through the roof. Did she tell you about the money she owes me? She said you offered to help. Out of love. I hung up and opened my laptop. If Amelia wanted to play the social media game, I could play too. I created a throwaway Reddit account and started typing aita for asking my sister to repay the $48K I loaned her for IVF after she cut me off completely. I laid out everything. The loans, the documents, the lies, the blocking. Within minutes, comments flooded in. TA, she used you. Get a lawyer ASAP. Your sister sounds like a narcissist? The post exploded. Within hours, it hit the front page. Thousands of comments, hundreds of awards. People began sharing screenshots on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. My phone buzzed again. A text from Amelia. Take that post down now. I replied with a screenshot of her signature on one of the loan documents. She called immediately. I put her on speaker so Mia, who was with me, could hear. You're destroying my life, Amelia screamed. Do you know what people are saying about me? The truth hurts, doesn't it? I'm being harassed. People are sending me horrible messages. I didn't identify you in the post, I said calmly. You did that yourself by reacting. My sponsorships are pulling out. My mommy blog is tanking. Mia leaned toward the phone. Perhaps you should have thought about that before defaulting on a legally binding agreement. Stay out of this, Amelia snapped. This is between me and my sister. No, I cut in. You made it public when you started spreading lies about me, when you turned our family against me, when you posted about your toxic sister on Instagram. I'm pregnant. I'm hormonal. You're stressing out my baby. The baby you're carrying thanks to my money? Silence. Then my phone pinged with a new notification. Joanna had posted again. Just watched my best friend break down in tears because of online bullying. Shame on anyone who would attack a pregnant woman. Stop the hate. I was about to respond when another message popped up. An email from an unfamiliar address. Yolanda, we need to talk. It's about Amelia and the IVF. There's something you should know. Clay. My hands started shaking. Clay, Amelia's ex-husband, who'd vanished right before the final treatment, who'd supposedly abandoned her dreams of motherhood. What is it? Mia asked, seeing my expression. I showed her the email. Reply, she said immediately. This could change everything. I typed back a quick response. When and where? His reply came within minutes. Tomorrow, noon. The coffee shop on 5th. There's more to this story than you know. My phone was still blowing up with family messages. Aunt Susan calling me heartless. Uncle Rob demanding I fix this mess. Cousins choosing sides. Mom sending guilt-trip texts about family loyalty. But none of that mattered now. Because Clay knew something. Something big enough to make him break his months-long silence. I turned to Mia. Want to meet my ex-brother-in-law for coffee tomorrow? She grinned. Wouldn't miss it for the world. My phone pinged one final time. A DM from Brody, Amelia's new boyfriend. You have no idea what you've started. Back off now, or else. I screenshot it and sent it to Mia. Add witness intimidation to the legal file, I said quietly. The social media war could rage on. Let Amelia play victim. Let Joanna spread her poison. Let the family choose sides. Because tomorrow at noon, I had a feeling the real truth would finally come out. And something told me Amelia wouldn't be able to spin her way out of this one. Clay looked exactly the same as he had 6 months ago. Tall, tired, and carrying the weight of something heavy on his shoulders. He was already waiting when Mia and I arrived at the coffee shop, 2 manila folders sitting on the table in front of him. Thanks for meeting me, he said, standing to greet us. You must be Mia? The lawyer, she confirmed, shaking his hand. Should I have brought my recorder? Actually, yes. He gestured to the folders. You're going to want to document this. The barista had barely set down our coffees when Clay opened the first folder. Amelia never told me she was continuing the IVF, he said quietly. I found out yesterday when my lawyer was doing routine checks on our joint accounts from the separation. I frowned. But you left her, right before the final treatment. He laughed bitterly. Is that what she told you? I left because I caught her stealing money from my parents' retirement account. She'd already drained $30,000 for previous IVF rounds without telling me. My hands started shaking. What? We agreed to stop treatments, take a break, work on our marriage. Then I discovered the theft, confronted her, and she. He swallowed hard. She said she'd tell everyone I'd been abusing her if I didn't let her continue. Mia was already recording. Do you have proof of these allegations? He opened the second folder. Bank statements, text messages, and this, the fertility clinic's records showing she used our stored embryos without my consent. My coffee went cold as he laid out the evidence. Screenshots of Amelia's threats, bank records showing the theft, and most damning, paperwork from the clinic with Clay's forged signature authorizing the use of their frozen embryos. She committed fraud, Mia said flatly. Multiple counts. The baby she's carrying, Clay's voice cracked. That's technically my child, too. Those were my embryos. She had no right. I felt the room spinning. Does she know you know? Not yet. My lawyer is filing papers tomorrow. We're seeking emergency intervention, either shared custody or... He hesitated. Or what? Or termination of the pregnancy, given the fraudulent conception. The words hung heavy in the air. Mia was furiously taking notes. There's more, Clay continued. That new boyfriend of hers, Brody, he's got warrants in 3 states for financial fraud, specifically targeting pregnant women. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Amelia's in the hospital. Stress-induced complications. I hope you're happy. I showed it to Clay. Classic Amelia, he sighed. When backed into a corner, she always finds a way to be the victim. She used me, I whispered. Just like she used you. Like she's probably letting Brody use her now. The money you gave her, Clay leaned forward. How much exactly? I told him. He nodded grimly. Add your claim to my lawsuit. We can prove pattern of behavior. Financial exploitation, emotional manipulation. My phone buzzed again. Joanna, Amelia's baby is in distress because of you. They're monitoring her overnight. Don't respond, Mia advised. Let her dig her hole deeper. Clay pulled out one final document. There's something else you should know. The timing of when she used our embryos, it overlaps with when Brody moved in. Meaning she's letting him believe he's the father. He's been posting about his baby online. That's fraud too. Just then, my phone lit up with a call from Amelia herself. I put it on speaker. The hospital wants my complete medical history, she said, her voice small, including how the baby was conceived. Interesting timing, I replied coldly. Yolanda, please, I can explain everything. To me? I cut in. Or to Clay? Silence. Then, what? He's sitting right here, Amelia, with proof you stole his embryos, forged his signature, committed fraud. The sound of something dropping. Muffled voices in the background. You don't understand, she whispered. I needed. Save it for the judge, Clay said loudly enough for her to hear. She hung up. Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Amelia had gone live on Instagram from her hospital bed, crying about being attacked during her high-risk pregnancy. Let her perform, Mia said, gathering the documents. The truth is going to hit harder than any social media sympathy campaign. As we left the coffee shop, Clay touched my arm. I'm sorry, he said. I should have warned you about her years ago, about what she's capable of. I thought about all the money, the lies, the manipulation. No, I replied. She needed to show me herself. And now everyone else will see it too. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Brody to Clay, accidentally sent to me instead. Back off or the baby disappears. Your choice. Clay smiled grimly when I showed him. And there's our final piece of evidence. The game was changing. Amelia's house of cards was about to collapse, and I had a front row seat to watch it fall. The hospital waiting room felt like a battlefield. Mom and Dad sat huddled in one corner, while Brody paced aggressively near the vending machines. Clay and I occupied the opposite side, with Mia standing guard like a sentinel. She's asking for you, Dad said quietly, looking at me. The doctor said her blood pressure won't stabilize until she calms down. Convenient, I muttered. Brody stopped pacing. Listen, you need to drop this lawsuit nonsense. Look what it's doing to her. Funny, Clay spoke up. I didn't know you were so invested in a baby that isn't yours. The color drained from Brody's face. What did you say? You heard me. Those were my embryos, stolen and implanted without consent. Want to explain to everyone why you've been posting about your baby on social media? Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Amelia told us Brody was the father. Amelia tells a lot of things, I said, pulling out my phone. Like how she told her Instagram followers that Brody's the CEO of a tech startup. Want to tell them about those fraud warrants instead? Brody lunged forward, but Clay was faster, stepping between us. Touch her, Clay warned, and assault charges will be the least of your problems. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Family of Amelia? We all turned. She's stabilized, but she's requesting her sister. Only her sister. I looked at Mia, who nodded and hit record on her phone. Amelia lay in the hospital bed, monitors beeping steadily around her. Her makeup was perfectly smeared, the same technique she'd used since high school to look tragically beautiful while crying. Come to finish destroying my life? She asked weakly. No, you're doing a pretty good job of that yourself. She flinched. I'm your sister. Exactly. Which made your betrayal even worse. I didn't betray you. She trailed off, looking away. I needed space. Space? I laughed. You needed space so badly you had to lie to our entire family? Turn them against me? Block me everywhere? You don't understand what it's like, she burst out. Everyone watching, judging, expecting this perfect pregnancy story. So you created one, with my money and Clay's embryos? Her eyes widened. He told you? He showed me everything. The forged documents, the theft from his parents, the threats. The monitors started beeping faster. I had no choice, she whispered. The treatments weren't working. Clay wanted to stop, but I saw those embryos just sitting there. You had every choice. You chose to steal, to lie, to manipulate everyone around you. And what about Brody? I continued. How long before he empties your accounts and disappears? She grabbed my arm. Don't tell him about the embryos. Please. He thinks he's the father. Like you let Clay's parents think they were going to be grandparents while you stole their retirement? Tears rolled down her cheeks. I'll pay you back. I promise. Just drop everything. Please. It's too late. Clay's lawyers are already moving forward, and I'm joining the lawsuit. The door opened. Brody walked in, followed closely by Clay. Baby! Brody rushed to her side. Are you okay? Is our little miracle... Your miracle? Clay interrupted. Want to explain how that works with my embryos? Brody froze. Amelia's monitor started beeping frantically. Everyone out! A nurse rushed in. Her blood pressure is spiking. In the hallway, Brody grabbed his jacket. I need some air. Running already? I called after him. Before or after you clean out her bank accounts? He practically sprinted to the elevator. Mom appeared looking shell-shocked. The doctors want to keep her overnight. For observation. Good, Clay said. She can get served with the papers first thing tomorrow. Please, Mom begged. She's still carrying a baby. Your baby. A baby she stole, he corrected. After stealing from my family? Dad joined us, looking older than I'd ever seen him. How did we not see this coming? Because you never wanted to see it, I answered. You always believed her stories, her excuses, her lies. My phone buzzed. A text from Mia. Private investigator confirmed it. Brody's cleaned out 3 of Amelia's accounts already. I showed it to my parents. Mom sank into a chair. What have we done? What has she done? She's done exactly what she's always done, I said quietly. Used people until they had nothing left to give. Only this time, she's not getting away with it. Through the hospital room window, I could see Amelia crying into her hands. For the first time in my life, I felt nothing. No guilt, no sympathy, no obligation to fix her mess. She'd made her choices. Now she had to live with them. The baby shower invitation arrived 3 weeks after the hospital incident. Pink and gold with flowing script. Join us in celebrating Amelia's miracle. I stared at it for a full minute before bursting into laughter. She can't be serious, Mia said, reading over my shoulder. After everything? My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Please come. She wants to make things right. Before I could respond, another invitation arrived, this time by email. A disinvitation. Due to the high-risk nature of my pregnancy and recent stress-induced complications, I must limit attendance to positive, supporting individuals only. I forwarded it to Clay's lawyer. The shower was scheduled for Saturday at the country club. I didn't plan to go, but I did send a gift, a beautifully wrapped frame containing copies of every loan document with a note. Since you're celebrating miracles, here's how this one happened. That morning, my Reddit post mysteriously resurfaced, gaining traction again. Someone had connected it to Amelia's mommy blog and her perfectly curated Instagram pregnancy journey. The internet did what it does best. It dug. Your sister's trending, Mia announced, scrolling through her phone. People found her old posts about Brody being the father. They're comparing dates with Clay's lawsuit details. My phone lit up with a call from Joanna. How dare you, she screeched. Only 8 people showed up. 8! She spent thousands on this shower. With whose money? I asked calmly. Brody's already drained 3 of her accounts. Did she use the 4th for the party? Silence. Did she tell you he's gone? Disappeared last week with everything he could get his hands on? She said he's on a business trip, I laughed. Check his warrant records. I'm sure he is. The sponsors pulled out, Joanna continued, her voice smaller. All of them. Her mommy blog partnership deals. Truth hurts, doesn't it? She opened your gift, Joanna said suddenly, in front of everyone. When she saw what it was, Yolanda, she fainted. Real faint or Amelia faint? Don't be cruel. She's carrying your niece. No, I corrected. She's carrying Clay's stolen child, and karma's finally catching up. I hung up as another text came through. From Clay. She's trying to leave the state. My lawyer caught her booking flights to Mexico. My hands shook as I forwarded this to Mia. That's not happening, Mia replied immediately. I'm filing an emergency motion right now. Within hours, Amelia's passport was flagged. She couldn't leave the country with Clay's baby. Their baby, conceived through fraud. By evening, the shower drama had exploded online. Someone had posted photos of the nearly empty party room, expensive decorations mocking the absence of guests. Amelia's carefully constructed social media facade was crumbling. Mom called, sobbing. She's destroying herself, she cried. Please, can't you stop this? Stop what? The consequences of her actions? She's your sister. She stopped being my sister the moment she decided to use me, steal from Clay, and lie to everyone. Where was this concern when she was spreading lies about me? We didn't know, because you never wanted to know. You never questioned her stories, her excuses, her manipulations. Well, now everyone knows, and she did that to herself. Later that night, Amelia herself called. I almost didn't answer. The frame was a nice touch, she said, her voice hollow. Really classy. About as classy as stealing embryos and faking paternity. I had to protect my miracle. Stop calling it that, I snapped. It's not a miracle. It's fraud, theft, manipulation. And now everyone knows. She started crying. What do you want from me? Nothing. Not anymore. I just want you to face what you've done. All of it. I'm your sister, she whispered. No, I replied. You're just someone who used to be my sister. Someone who took everything I had and threw me away. Someone who's finally facing consequences. I'll pay you back, she offered desperately. Once the baby what? Once you figure out how to explain why Brody vanished with your money? Once you deal with Clay's custody suit? Once you explain to your followers why you lied about everything? Silence. Goodbye, Amelia. As I hung up, a notification popped up. Someone had leaked the court documents from Clay's lawsuit. The full story was out now, spreading across social media like wildfire. Amelia's carefully constructed house of cards wasn't just falling. It had burned to the ground, and I felt nothing but relief watching the ashes scatter. The delivery room notification came through Mia, not family. As Clay's lawyer, she'd been alerted when Amelia checked into the hospital. I sat in my office, staring at the message, feeling nothing but a strange sense of completion. My phone lit up. Mom. She's asking for you, she said without preamble. The doctors are concerned about complications. Please, Yolanda. No, but my presence won't help her blood pressure this time. I ended the call and turned back to my work. The settlement papers from Clay's lawsuit sat on my desk, finally signed after Amelia's attempts to flee failed. My portion of the judgment would be paid through the sale of her car and designer collection. My phone buzzed again. Clay. I'm at the hospital, he said. My lawyer's here too. We need to establish paternity immediately. How is she? Struggling. But you know Amelia. Even in labor, she's trying to control the narrative. Keeps talking about her single mom journey to the nurses. I almost laughed. Did she mention the part where she stole the baby she's delivering? That's coming out today. Once paternity is confirmed, we go public with everything. Another call beeped through. Joanna. Don't you dare ignore this, she hissed when I answered. Your sister is in distress. After everything you've done. After everything I've done, I cut her off. Let's talk about everything she did. Want to start with the theft, the fraud, or how about you? How many lies did you help spread? Silence. That's what I thought. Back at my desk, I opened my laptop and clicked the folder labeled Receipts. Every document, every text, every piece of evidence we'd gathered. I'd been saving them for this moment. My phone lit up with a text from Dad. Baby girl born, healthy, please come. I didn't respond. Instead, I hit publish on the blog post I'd prepared weeks ago. The True Cost of a Miracle, a story of theft, fraud, and family. Every detail, every document, every betrayal, laid bare for the world to see. Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. You heartless witch, Joanna texted. She just gave birth. Perfect timing, Mia replied when I forwarded her the message. She can't run now. I gathered my things and left the office, not heading to the hospital, but to my favorite coffee shop, the one where Clay had revealed the truth about the embryos, where everything had started to unravel. The barista had just handed me my drink when Mom called again. Clay's lawyers are here, she said, her voice shaking. They're demanding immediate DNA testing. And they found out about Brody. He's been arrested in Florida. Something about investment fraud. Karma, I said simply. The baby, she looks just like Clay. Amelia's hysterical. The doctors had to sedate her. I sipped my coffee. Not my problem anymore. When did you become so cold? When did you become so blind? I countered. She stole a baby, Mom. Through fraud. After stealing my money and Clay's parents' retirement. This isn't about being cold. This is about justice. My phone pinged a news alert. Local stations were picking up the story. Fertility fraud scandal rocks local family. Perfect. Dad tried next. She named the baby after you, middle name. Another manipulation, I replied. Tell her to enjoy it while she can. Clay's filing for full custody. The texts and calls kept coming. Family members choosing sides, friends expressing shock, strangers offering support. Through it all, I sat in that coffee shop, watching my sister's carefully constructed world collapse through the screen of my phone. Finally, one last message came through. From Amelia herself, likely through Mom's phone. I'm sorry for everything. Please come meet your niece. I typed back, she's not my niece. She's Clay's daughter, a child you stole. And now everyone knows it. I blocked the number and closed my laptop. Outside, the sun was setting on what felt like the final chapter of a very long story. My phone buzzed one last time. Mia. DNA results confirmed. Clay's filing emergency custody papers now. It's over. And it was. Not with a dramatic confrontation or tearful reconciliation, but with truth, justice, consequences. I walked out of the coffee shop into the cool evening air, feeling lighter than I had in months. Some people say blood is thicker than water, But justice? Justice is thicker than both. And sometimes the happiest endings aren't about forgiveness. They're about freedom.
You're wasting your life with those silly designs, my mother spat, tossing my portfolio across the dining room table. The carefully arranged sketches scattered like autumn leaves, some floating to the floor where coffee had spilled earlier. I watched a particularly detailed evening gown design land in the brown puddle, bleeding ink across the marble tiles. My name is Stacy, and that was the last dinner I ever had with my family. Mom, please, I said, dropping to my knees to gather the drawings. These aren't just doodles. I've been accepted to the Fashion Institute. I can make this work. Make what work? Stephanie, my older sister, smirked from her seat. Playing dress-up while the rest of us live in reality? She waved her Yale Law acceptance letter like a victory flag. Dad cleared his throat, straightening his tie the way he always did before delivering bad news to his employees. Stacy, we've made a decision. The house is being remortgaged to cover Stephanie's law school tuition. There's nothing left for whatever this is. He gestured vaguely at my ruined portfolio. Nothing left? I echoed, my voice hollow. You're spending $300,000 on her degree, but you won't even consider helping me with a $30,000 program, because her degree will lead to a real career. Mom slammed her hand on the table, making the china rattle. Look at yourself, 22 years old and still playing with colored pencils. When I was your age, you were already married to Dad and planning the perfect family, I finished. Yeah, I know. Except I'm not you, Mom. I don't want to be you. The silence that followed was deafening. Get out! Mom's voice was ice. If you're so determined to throw your life away, do it somewhere else. We won't fund this delusion. Stephanie's triumphant smile made my stomach turn. Don't worry, sis. When I'm a successful attorney, maybe I'll hire you to design my courtroom outfits. I stood up slowly, clutching my damaged sketches. You know what? Keep the money. Keep your perfect little family dynamic. I'll make it on my own. With what? Dad scoffed. Your bank account has maybe $200 in it. You have no skills, no connections. I have talent, I cut him off, and determination. Sometimes that's enough. Mom laughed, that cruel, tinkling sound I'd grown to hate. Talent? Sweetheart, I've seen better designs in department store catalogs. You're not special, you're just stubborn. I ran upstairs to my room, throwing essentials into a suitcase. Clothes, my laptop, and my most precious possession. A vintage sewing machine I'd bought with 2 years of babysitting money. The rest of my supplies would have to stay behind. When I came back down, Stephanie was popping champagne with our parents. To Yale! She exclaimed, not even looking my way. To reality checks, Mom added, raising her glass. I walked out without saying goodbye, dragging my suitcase behind me. The late summer air was thick with humidity, and somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled. Perfect weather for a dramatic exit, I thought bitterly. At the end of the driveway, I stopped at the garbage bins. My portfolio was beyond saving, coffee-stained and torn. With trembling hands, I dropped it into the trash, watching years of work disappear into the darkness. Excuse me, a voice said behind me. Are those fashion sketches? I turned to find a woman in her 50s, elegant in a crisp white blazer, peering into the bin. She reached in and pulled out one of my designs, a red cocktail dress with an asymmetrical neckline. They're nothing, I said quickly, embarrassed. Just some silly drawings. She held the sketch up to the streetlight, examining it with intense focus. Silly? This is innovative. The structure, the flow. Who taught you? No one. I taught myself. She pulled out a business card, offering it with perfectly manicured fingers. I'm Margaret from the Fashion Forward Foundation. We fund promising new designers. Call me tomorrow. That is, if you're serious about turning these silly drawings into something real. I took the card, my hand shaking. Behind me, laughter erupted from the house, my family, celebrating their version of success without me. "Thank you," I managed to say, but Margaret was already walking away, her heels clicking purposefully on the pavement. I looked down at the card, then back at my childhood home. The porch light flickered once, twice, like the universe sending me a signal. Sometimes the world has a funny way of catching you when you fall. Or maybe it's just karma, setting the stage for what comes next. I pulled out my phone and booked a one-way ticket to Los Angeles. It was time to show them exactly what silly drawings could become. Los Angeles wasn't kind in those first few months. I worked the morning shift at a coffee shop, the afternoon shift at a fabric store, and spent my nights hunched over my sewing machine in a cramped studio apartment I shared with 2 other girls. "Order up!" I called out, sliding a latte across the counter. The customer, a fashion blogger I recognized from Instagram, didn't even look up from her phone. I watched her walk away in a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. During breaks, I sketched designs on napkins and receipt paper. My manager caught me once, rolling her eyes. "Honey, we all have dreams in LA. But right now, you're paid to serve coffee, not daydream." That night, I posted my first design on Instagram under the name Iris Noir. Just a simple black dress with an unexpected cutout back. No face, no real name, just the design speaking for itself. 3 likes, 2 from bots. "Keep going," Margaret had said during our first meeting at the foundation. "Success isn't overnight. It's built in the quiet hours when everyone else is sleeping." So I did. I worked, I designed, I posted. Day after day, piece by piece. Then came the message that changed everything. "OMG, is this available for purchase?" The notification lit up my phone at 2 a.m. The sender was a minor reality TV star with 500,000 followers. I nearly dropped my coffee pot the next morning when I saw her follow-up message. "I need this for an event next week. Name your price." I stayed up all night sewing, my fingers bleeding from pinpricks. The dress cost me $89 in materials. I charged $500 and felt guilty about it. She posted a photo wearing it. By midnight, my inbox had exploded. "Stacy!" a familiar voice called out across the coffee shop a week later. "Stacy! Oh my God!" I looked up to see Greta, my best friend from high school, waving frantically. She'd moved to LA years ago to work in PR. "I can't believe it's you!" She hugged me tight, then pulled back. "Wait, why are you working here? I thought you'd be living my dreams?" I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, well, dreams need funding." Her eyes narrowed. "Hold up, are you Iris Noir?" I nearly dropped the coffee pot. "How did you—" "The design style. I'd know it anywhere. That dress that went viral last week? Pure Stacy." She grabbed my arm. "We need to talk. Now." Over my break, I showed her my Instagram page, my sketches, my tiny workspace at home. "This is incredible," she said, scrolling through the orders piling up in my DMs. "But you're doing it all wrong. You need a website, a business plan, a proper PR strategy." She looked up at me. "Let me help. I can't pay you. Give me 10% of the business, and we'll call it even." Within a month, Iris Noir had a sleek website and a waiting list. Greta's PR magic turned my anonymity into mystique. The designer who lets the clothes speak became my trademark. Then came the message from Kaysen Murray. "Dear Iris Noir," it read, "I represent a private investment group interested in emerging designers. We've been watching your growth with interest. Attached is a preliminary offer for funding, contingent on one condition. You maintain your anonymous brand identity. We believe it's your strongest asset." The number in the attachment made me dizzy. "It's legitimate," Greta confirmed after making some calls. "Kaysen Murray is known for spotting underground talent. But why the anonymity clause?" I thought about my family, about Stephanie's smug face, about my mother's dismissal of my silly designs. Because sometimes the best revenge is letting people wonder, I said, signing the contract. That night, I checked my sister's Instagram. She'd posted a long rant about homeless people in LA, not trying hard enough to improve their lives. The irony wasn't lost on me as I counted the coins for my bus fare home. 6 months later, Iris Noir opened its first boutique. I watched from across the street as fashion editors and influencers lined up around the block. Nobody knew that the mysterious designer was the same girl who'd served them coffee months before. My phone buzzed. A text from Greta. "You should be in there." "Not yet," I replied. "This is just the beginning." I walked past the store, just another face in the crowd, and caught a glimpse of my designs in the window. Clean lines, bold choices, undeniable talent. Everything my family said I didn't have. Sometimes success is the sweetest when nobody knows it's yours. At least, not yet. I pulled my jacket closer and headed home to keep working. After all, empires aren't built in a day. They're built in secret, one stitch at a time. "Miss Noir, your 9 o'clock is waiting." My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. I smiled at the formality, 8 years later, and it still felt surreal hearing that name. From my office on the 48th floor, Los Angeles sprawled out like a glittering carpet. 300 employees worked below me now, none knowing their CEO's real identity. Even the cleaning staff had signed NDAs. "Kaysen," I greeted my COO as he entered. "What's so urgent?" He placed a thick folder on my desk. "The Morrison Group acquisition is complete. We now own controlling interest in Pacific West Lending." "A mortgage company?" I raised an eyebrow. "That's quite a departure from fashion." "Diversification is key," he replied with his characteristic poker face. "Though there's something specific you should see." He flipped to a page marked with a red tab. "This property." My heart stopped. There it was, my childhood address, listed under high-risk mortgages. "Your family's house," Kaysen said quietly. "They've missed 3 payments." My phone buzzed. A Instagram notification. "Stephanie Ellis Law tagged you in a post." I opened it, my jaw clenching. There was my sister, perfectly posed at our parents' annual Sunday roast. The caption read, "Another successful week. Just won a major trademark case. So blessed to have such a supportive family." "Blessed and grateful, your lawyer life." The comments were full of relatives praising her success. Aunt Linda, "So proud of you, a real career woman." Uncle Rob, "That's our girl, making the family proud." "Pull up Stephanie's financial records," I told Kaysen. His fingers flew across his tablet. "She's drowning in debt, student loans, credit cards. She's been borrowing money to maintain appearances. The trademark case? She lost it. Her firm is considering termination." I leaned back in my chair, processing this information. "And our parents?" "Remortgaged the house to help cover her law school debts. Current market value is about $800,000. They owe $950. A knock at the door interrupted us. Greta burst in, her face flushed with excitement. "Have you seen the latest numbers? Iris Noir just hit $1 billion in annual revenue. We need to—" She trailed off, noticing the tension. "What's wrong?" I handed her my phone, open to Stephanie's post. She scrolled through it, her expression darkening. "Still playing perfect princess, I see. Want me to leak those financial records to page 6? "No," I said, standing up. "I have a better idea." I turned to Kaysen. "What happens if Pacific West raises their interest rates?" He adjusted his glasses. "Under the terms of their mortgage, we could legally triple their monthly payments." "Do it." "Stacy," Greta warned. "Are you sure? This is justice," I finished. 8 years ago, they chose to bet everything on Stephanie. Let's see how that bet pays off. My phone buzzed again. A text from Serenity, my young intern. OMG! Someone just came in wearing an original Iris Noir to their divorce proceedings. Justice in style. I couldn't help but laugh at the timing. There's more, Kaysen added. Your father has been trying to network his way to a meeting with Iris Noir. Apparently, they want to appeal directly to the CEO for leniency. Decline it, Greta said automatically. No, I replied, surprising them both. Accept it, but not yet. Let them sweat a little first. I walked to the window, watching the fashion district bustle below. Somewhere down there, a young designer was probably sketching dreams on coffee shop napkins, just like I once did. Send them a formal notice, I instructed. Give them 30 days to bring the account current. When they can't, have them submit a written appeal. I want to see them grovel. That's cold, Greta said admiringly. I love it. My office door opened again. Ms. Noir? Serenity poked her head in. The Vogue team is here for the winter collection preview. Tell them I'll be right there. I turned to Kaysen and Greta. Let's keep this quiet for now. I want to handle it personally. After they left, I opened Instagram one more time. Mom had commented on Stephanie's post. So proud of my successful daughter. Some people choose the hard road, but you chose wisely. I clicked on my own profile, the mysterious Iris Noir, followed by millions, face never shown. My latest post was a black evening gown, sophisticated and sharp, like a weapon dressed in silk. The caption read, "Success is the best revenge." The comments flooded in. Queen. Iconic. How do you keep outdoing yourself? If they only knew. I grabbed my designer sunglasses and headed to the conference room. Time to show Vogue the new collection. Designs that would be in every major store window when my family's house went into foreclosure. Sometimes Karma needs a little help getting dressed. What do you mean? Triple. Dad's voice echoed through my office speakerphone. I sat silently in the dark, listening to the conference call between my parents and Pacific West's automated customer service. As per Section 12B of your mortgage agreement, the new ownership reserves the right to adjust interest rates with 30 days' notice, the representative droned. This is ridiculous, Mom cut in. We've been customers for 20 years. Where's your humanity? I muted my end of the line, sipping my coffee. The same coffee shop where I'd once worked now catered exclusively to Iris Noir's headquarters. I understand your frustration, Mrs. Get me your supervisor. No, get me the CEO. This is highway robbery. I apologize, but Iris Noir doesn't take personal appointments. I nearly choked on my coffee. The representative had just accidentally revealed the parent company's identity. On my other screen, I watched their Google searches spike. Iris Noir CEO, Iris Noir company owner, Iris Noir real name. My phone lit up with a text from Stephanie. Mom's hysterical. Need your legal expertise now. I forwarded it to Greta, who replied with a cry-laughing emoji. A knock at my door. Ms. Noir. Serenity entered with a stack of papers. The appeals are starting to come in. Your family's is on top. I picked up the letter, written in my mother's perfect penmanship. Dear Ms. Noir, we are writing to appeal for mercy. Our daughter Stephanie, a promising young attorney, is facing some temporary setbacks. We've invested everything in her future. Surely, as a successful businesswoman, you understand the importance of supporting real career paths. The letter slipped from my fingers. Are you okay? Serenity asked, concerned. They still don't get it, I whispered. After all these years, they still think... I stopped myself. Thank you, Serenity. That will be all. Later that afternoon, Greta burst into my office. You need to see this. Stephanie just posted a TikTok rant about predatory lending practices. She's trying to rally support against Iris Noir. I watched the video. My sister, makeup perfect despite her distressed appearance, calling for a boycott of our brand. The irony was delicious. She's got 200 views, Greta snorted. We get that many sales every minute. My office phone buzzed. Ms. Noir? There's a Mr. Stanley on line 1. He says he's an old friend of Judge Morrison. Dad, pulling strings. Always the businessman. Put him through. I deepened my voice slightly, the way I did for all business calls. This is Iris Noir. Ms. Noir, thank you for taking my call. Dad's voice was all smooth professionalism. I believe we have a mutual friend in Judge Morrison. The judge mentioned you. I lied. Something about a desperate situation. He cleared his throat. My family's in trouble. This interest rate increase, it would destroy us. We're good people, Ms. Noir. We've worked hard, made sacrifices. Sacrifices? I couldn't help myself. Like choosing one child's future over another's? Silence. I don't understand. Just curious. Do you have other children besides the lawyer? That's rather personal, he stammered. But yes, we had another daughter. She chose a different path. And how did that work out? She disappeared, probably homeless in LA somewhere, chasing pipe dreams about fashion. He laughed nervously. But about our mortgage. Mr. Stanley, I cut in, my voice ice cold. I'll tell you what. I'll meet with you and your family. Next Thursday, 2 p.m. My office. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. I hung up. Greta, who'd been listening, whistled low. That was twisted. I love it. Get me our best makeup artist, I told her. The one who does transformations for movies. For Thursday's meeting, I want to be unrecognizable. Already on it. But Stacy, she sat down across from me. Are you ready for this? To face them? I pulled up Stephanie's TikTok again. In the background of her video, I could see my old room, converted into a home gym. All traces of my existence erased. They erased me once, I said quietly. Now I get to return the favor. My phone pinged with a news alert. Iris Noir's holiday collection sells out in minutes. Mystery designer's empire continues to grow. Below, it was another alert. Pacific West Lending announces aggressive new collection policies. I closed both notifications and pulled up the family photo from Sunday roast. They looked so smug, so certain of their choices. In 1 week, I'd be sitting across from them in this very office. Send the official meeting confirmation, I told Greta, and make sure the conference room temperature is set to 65 degrees. That's oddly specific. I smiled. Mom always said cold rooms make people uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people make mistakes. Like underestimating their daughter. Hold still, the makeup artist muttered, adding another layer of contouring to my face. When I'm done, your own mother won't recognize you. That's the point, I said, watching my reflection transform. The woman in the mirror looked a decade older, sharper, with high cheekbones and calculating eyes. A stranger wearing my skin. Greta paced behind me. They're in the lobby. Your mother's wearing that awful pearl necklace she always bragged about. The one she promised would be mine if I grew up to be somebody. I laughed. How fitting. A knock at the door. Serenity entered, clutching her tablet. Ms. Noir, I was organizing the design archives and found something interesting. She held up a familiar sketch. My red cocktail dress from that night 8 years ago, coffee stains still visible on the edges. Where did you find this? Margaret from the Fashion Foundation donated her entire collection to us last month. She passed away last week. My chest tightened. I hadn't known. She left a note with this sketch, Serenity continued. Sometimes the greatest acts of kindness are simply believing in someone when no one else will. Ms. Noir? My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. The Ellis family is getting restless. I stood up, smoothing down my black designer suit. One of my own creations, naturally. Let's not keep them waiting. The walk to the conference room felt like floating. Through the glass walls, I could see them. Mom nervously adjusting her pearls, Dad pretending to check his phone, Stephanie in a knockoff designer suit, trying to look important. Remember, Greta whispered, you're Iris Noir. You're untouchable. I entered silently, letting them squirm for a moment before speaking. Mr. and Mrs. Ellis, Miss Stephanie, please, sit. Ms. Noir, Dad started, extending his hand. I ignored it. Let's discuss your situation. I opened their file. 3 missed payments, multiple late fees, a history of refinancing to fund. What exactly? My daughter's law degree, Mom said proudly. She's very successful. Is she? I slid across a printout of Stephanie's credit report. Because according to this, she's about to be terminated from her firm. Something about losing major cases? Stephanie's face went white. How did you... I make it my business to know everything about people who owe me money. I turned to another page, including the fact that you've been lying to your parents about your income while borrowing money from them. Now see here, Dad bristled. Our family matters are private. Nothing is private when you're in debt, Mr. Ellis. Tell me, was it worth it? Betting everything on one child? Mom's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I understand you had another daughter, the one you cut off for pursuing fashion design? That's not... We didn't... Mom stuttered. Stacy made her choice. And how's that choice looking now? I gestured to the office around us. The fashion industry seems to be doing quite well. What does this have to do with our mortgage? Stephanie snapped. I pressed a button, and the walls lit up with digital displays. Sales figures, revenue charts, global market presence, all showing Iris Noir's meteoric rise. Everything, I said softly, because choices have consequences. You chose to believe in law degrees over creativity, in status over talent, and now you're at the mercy of someone who built an empire out of silly designs. The color drained from Mum's face. What did you say? Your appeal is denied, I continued, standing. You have 30 days to bring the account current, or foreclosure proceedings will begin. Please, Dad begged. We can work something out. Maybe if we could speak to Stacy, get her to help. Stacy? I laughed coldly. The homeless failure chasing pipe dreams in LA? Why would she help you? Because she's family, Mom whispered, but her voice wavered. Family? I pressed a final button. The screens filled with their social media posts from the past 8 years. Every dismissive comment about artists. Every boast about Stephanie. Every family photo where my absence wasn't even noticed. You don't get to play the family card now, I said, walking to the door. Meeting's over. Wait, Stephanie called out. Do I know you from somewhere? I paused, hand on the doorknob. For a moment, I considered revealing everything, but looking at their desperate faces, I realized something. The anticipation of karma is sometimes sweeter than its delivery. No, I said finally, but you will. I left them sitting there, surrounded by evidence of their mistakes, and walked back to my office where Greta waited. Well, she asked, tell Kaysen to start the foreclosure paperwork. I looked out at the LA skyline. And call my stylist. For the next meeting, I want them to see exactly who they threw away. Sometimes the best revenge is served in installments. The foreclosure notice arrived on a Tuesday. I watched through the security feed as a courier delivered it to my childhood home. Mom's hand shook as she signed for it. They're here, Greta announced, exactly 1 week later, And Stephanie's wearing one of our dresses. A knockoff, obviously. How fitting. I stood before the mirror, examining my transformation. This time there was no heavy makeup, no aging contours. Just me, but elevated, polished, powerful. The real Stacy, the one they never thought I could become. Are you sure about this? Greta squeezed my hand. I've never been more sure of anything. The conference room was colder today, just as I'd ordered. Mum clutched her pearls, shivering slightly. Dad's suit looked wrinkled. He'd probably slept in his car again, based on the security reports. Stephanie paced nervously, her fake designer heels clicking on the marble floor. Please sit, I said, entering the room. My voice was my own this time, no affected accent or deeper tone. Mom frowned, tilting her head. Recognition flickered in her eyes, but confusion won out. It had been 8 years, after all. Ms. Noir, please, Dad began, his voice breaking. We've exhausted every option. We've called every bank, every friend. Even Stacy, Stephanie interrupted. We tried finding her, but she's just gone. Gone, I raised an eyebrow. Or just not looking to help the people who threw her away. We didn't throw her away, Mom protested. We were trying to protect her from wasting her life on silly designs, I finished, watching their faces freeze. Tell me, how much is that dress you're wearing worth, Stephanie? She glanced down at her knockoff. It's an Iris Noir original. No, I said softly. It's a cheap copy of my spring collection. The real one costs $12,000. I should know. I designed it. The silence was deafening. What? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. What did you say? I stood, walking to the window. You know, I used to sketch designs in this very spot. Back when I was serving coffee downstairs. Before Iris Noir existed. Before I built this tower. Before I bought the company that holds your mortgage. No, Dad breathed. It's not possible. I turned back to face them. Still think I should have gone to law school, Mother? Stephanie stumbled backward, knocking over her chair. Stacy? In the flesh. I smiled, not warmly. Though I go by Ms. Noir in this building. Mom's pearls clattered against the table as her hand flew to her throat. But you were nothing. You had nothing. I had talent and determination. Remember? The 2 things you said would never be enough? Dad stood up, his businessman facade cracking. Sweetheart, if we'd known what? I cut him off. That I'd succeed. That's the problem, Dad. You never thought I could. You bet everything on the wrong daughter. Is that what this is about? Stephanie found her voice. Revenge? You're going to make our parents homeless because you're bitter? Bitter, I laughed. I'm worth billions. I have stores in 30 countries. My designs are worn by queens and presidents. I'm not bitter, Stephanie. I'm triumphant. I pressed a button, and the screens lit up with headlines. Iris Noir, the billion-dollar mystery. Fashion's most enigmatic success story. The designer who conquered the world. This building? I continued. I own it. That law firm you're about to be fired from? I'm their biggest client. That house you're about to lose? I could buy it 1,000 times over with what I make in a month. Then help us, Mom pleaded. We're family. Family? I picked up her foreclosure notice. Like when you turned my room into a gym before I'd even left the driveway? Or when you celebrated Stephanie's graduations while telling everyone I was probably dead in a ditch? Tears streaked Mom's makeup. We were wrong. We see that now. No, I said quietly. You're not sorry you were wrong. You're sorry I succeeded. There's a difference. What do you want? Dad asked. Money? Public apology? I want you to feel what I felt. To know what it's like to have everything you built crumble because someone decided your dreams weren't worth believing in. I walked to the door, then paused. You have 24 hours to vacate the property. Consider this your official notice. Stacy, please, Mom called out. I turned one last time. It's Ms. Noir. Stacy was the daughter you threw away. I'm the woman who rose from those ashes. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, leaving them in the cold room with nothing but the weight of their choices. And outside, the Los Angeles sun shone brilliantly on the Iris Noir logo, 48 stories high. I made it halfway to my office before the clicking of heels behind me grew louder. You vindictive bitch! Stephanie's voice echoed through the hallway. Security moved to intercept her, but I held up my hand. Let her through. She stormed into my office, mascara streaking down her face. You orchestrated all of this. You bought that loan company just to destroy us. Funny how karma works, isn't it? I settled behind my desk. Almost as funny as your fake designer dress. I lost everything because of you. No, I corrected her. You lost everything because you couldn't admit failure. How many cases did you actually win this year, Stephanie? 2? 3? The door burst open again. Mom and Dad rushed in, security guards trailing helplessly behind them. Enough! Dad shouted. You've made your point, Stacy. You're successful. You won. Now stop this madness. I pressed the intercom. Greta, bring in the file. Moments later, Greta entered with a thick manila envelope. She shot my family a disgusted look before placing it on my desk. What's that? Mom asked, her voice trembling. 8 years of receipts. I started laying out papers. Every nasty social media post. Every time you told relatives I was probably dead or homeless. Every celebration photo where you proudly proclaimed having one perfect daughter. Every loan you took out to maintain Stephanie's facade of success. We were worried about you, Mom whispered. Really? I pulled out my phone, playing a saved voicemail. Mom's voice filled the room. Honestly, Linda, it's better she's gone. At least now we can focus on our real achiever. Mom's face crumpled. I didn't mean... You meant every word. I stood up. Just like you meant it when you said I'd never be more than a seamstress begging for coins. Stephanie slumped into a chair. So what happens now? You throw us out on the street? Destroy our lives completely? You did that yourselves. I walked to the window. The house goes up for auction next week. Stephanie's firm will receive an anonymous tip about her falsified case records. And you, I turned to my parents, will finally understand what it feels like to have nothing. We're still your parents, Dad tried. Parents? I laughed. Parents support their children. Parents believe in dreams. You were just investors who backed the wrong horse. And what about you? Stephanie shot back. Living behind a fake name, hiding your face for years. Some success story. I hid because I wanted to succeed on pure talent, I replied. No family connections, no handouts, no advantages, just skill and determination. The 2 things you said I lacked. Please, Mom stepped forward. Give us another chance. We can be a family again. A family? I pressed another button on my desk. The walls lit up with photos. Me at fashion shows, accepting awards, opening stores worldwide. I built my own family. People who believed in me. People who saw my worth. The door opened again. Serenity entered, freezing when she saw the scene. I'm sorry, Ms. Noir. I didn't know... It's okay, Serenity. What is it? Vogue is here for your cover shoot. They're waiting in the studio. Mom's eyes widened. Cover shoot? Yes, I smiled. Iris Noir is finally revealing her identity. Imagine the headlines. Disowned daughter builds billion-dollar empire. You can't, Stephanie gasped. The humiliation. The truth, I corrected. Sometimes it hurts worse than any revenge. I gathered my things, heading for the door. Security will escort you out. Don't bother trying to contact me again. As far as I'm concerned, you stopped being my family the day you chose status over love. Stacy! Dad called out, his voice breaking. How could you do this to us? I paused at the doorway, thinking of that night 8 years ago, of coffee-stained sketches and broken dreams. I learned from the best, Dad. You taught me exactly how to throw away family. The door closed behind me, but not before I heard Mom's sobs. Greta fell into step beside me. The Vogue team is ready, she said. Are you sure about going public? I thought about the young designers out there, the dreamers being told their passions were worthless. Yes, it's time the world knew that sometimes the biggest success stories start with someone saying you'll never make it. We walked toward the studio, leaving behind the wreckage of my former family. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about rebuilding yourself so completely that they don't recognize what they threw away. And sometimes the best revenge is letting them watch you shine. The Vogue cover hit newsstands on a crisp autumn morning. My face, proud, unapologetic, and very much alive, stared out from every magazine rack in the country. The designer they doubted, Iris Noir, reveals all. The phone hasn't stopped ringing, Greta said, dropping a stack of messages on my desk. Every talk show in America wants you. Ellen, Oprah, The View. I was about to respond when Serenity burst in. Ms. Noir, you need to see this. She held up her phone. A GoFundMe page titled, Help the Ellis Family Recover. The description, written by Stephanie, painted a tragic tale of a vengeful daughter destroying her loving family over a simple misunderstanding. It has $12, Serenity added, and one of those was from me because I felt bad. I couldn't help but laugh. Have you checked on them? They're staying at a Motel 6 off the highway, Greta reported. Stephanie's been disbarred for ethics violations. Your mother tried selling her pearls, but they turned out to be fake. The irony wasn't lost on me. Ms. Noir, my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. There's a young woman here. Says she was kicked out by her parents for wanting to be a painter. I stood up immediately. Send her in. The girl couldn't have been more than 18, clutching a worn portfolio much like I once had. Her eyes widened when she recognized me from the magazine cover. I'm sorry, she stammered. I read your story, and I thought maybe... Show me, I said softly. She spread her paintings across my desk, vibrant, raw, full of the same hunger I once had. My parents say art isn't a real career. They won't help with art school, and you're not going to let that stop you. I pressed the intercom again. Call the foundation. Tell them we have our first scholarship recipient. The girl's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? I handed her a tissue. On one condition. When you make it, help the next dreamer they try to silence. After she left, clutching acceptance papers and crying happy tears, Greta gave me a knowing look. That was you, wasn't you? 8 years ago? Maybe, I smiled, but she'll write her own story. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. The motel wants us out. Please, just talk to us. Delete. Another buzz. Mom this time. I sold my wedding ring. Was that worth enough revenge for you? Delete. Stephanie. I hope you're happy. You destroyed everything. I started to delete this one too, but instead, I typed back. No, Stephanie. I built everything. You destroyed yourselves. Block. The auction is tomorrow, Greta reminded me. Are you going? I looked out at the city, at the billboards bearing my designs, at the stores with my name. No, but I want you to buy the house. What? Why? Because I'm turning it into a design school. For kids whose families don't believe in them. I handed her the paperwork. The Iris Noir Foundation for Creative Dreams. That's... Greta wiped her eyes. That's perfect. A knock at the door. Kaysen entered with a small package. This was left at reception. It's been scanned. It's safe. Inside was a coffee-stained sketch, my original red cocktail dress design, and a note from Margaret's estate. She kept this all these years. Said it reminded her that sometimes the greatest designs come from broken dreams. I pinned the sketch on my wall, right next to the Vogue cover. Miss Noir? Serenity poked her head in. The Today Show is calling again. They want to know what you'd say to your family if they're watching. I thought about it for a moment, then smiled. Tell them I'd say thank you. Thank you? Greta looked shocked. Yes. Thank you for teaching me that the only approval I needed was my own. Thank you for showing me that sometimes the worst rejection leads to the best direction. And thank you for proving that success isn't about who believes in you at the beginning. It's about who you become despite them. I picked up a pencil and started sketching. A new design was forming. Something bold, uncompromising, free. And Serenity? Tell them one more thing. What's that? Tell them that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better, and then helping others do the same. Outside my window, a young designer walked out of the building, clutching her acceptance papers, ready to prove someone wrong. Just like I did. Just like I always will. Because some dreams are too beautiful to silence, and some victories are best celebrated by holding the door open for those coming up behind you. That's the real power of revenge, turning it into revolution.
The text message from Mum came on a Tuesday morning, right as I was helping Lucy tie her shoes for school. Need to talk, honey. Call when you can. My name is Amber, and that message was the beginning of the end. Or maybe it was the beginning of something else entirely. I just didn't know it yet. I called Mom back from the car after dropping the kids off, my coffee getting cold in the cup holder. Her voice had that sugary sweetness that always meant bad news was coming. Sweetheart, I've been crunching numbers for the annual lake trip, she started, and with everything being so expensive these days, well, we just can't swing it this year. Not with all the extras. My throat tightened. Extras? You know, honey, the additional rooms, extra meals. It adds up. The extras were my children. My 10-year-old son, Braden, and 7-year-old daughter, Lucy, had suddenly become line items on a budget spreadsheet. I can chip in more, I offered, hating how desperate I sounded. The business is doing better now. Oh no, we couldn't ask that of you, Mom cut in quickly. Besides, Edith already suggested we skip it altogether. Give everyone's wallet a break. Of course Edith suggested it. My perfect older sister, who never had to worry about money since marrying Bentley. Right, I managed. Thanks for letting me know. That evening, I had to tell the kids. Braden took it hardest. He'd been practicing casting with his new fishing rod for months. Lucy just asked if the fish would miss us, and somehow that hurt worse. Next year, I promised them both. We'll definitely go next year. 3 days later, I was mindlessly scrolling through Facebook when I saw it. My hand started shaking so bad, I nearly dropped my phone. There was Edith, tagged in dozens of photos. All aboard! Family. First, Truck Cruise Life. The pictures showed everyone. Mom, Dad, Edith, Bentley, their kids, even our cousin Sarah, on the deck of a luxury cruise ship. I clicked through each photo like I was picking at a scab. There they were at the captain's dinner, dressed up and laughing. Another showed Dad teaching Edith's boys how to play shuffleboard, exactly like he used to teach me. My phone buzzed with a text from Sandra, my best friend. Are you seeing this? Call me. I couldn't call. I could barely breathe. More photos kept coming over the next week. Pool parties, exotic ports, sunset dinners, each one tagged with nauseating hashtags like Shush Blessed Family and Making Memories. Finally, I got a voicemail from Mum. Having such a wonderful time, sweetie. The ship is gorgeous. Wish you could see it. Maybe next time when things aren't so tight, right? That night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine. The summer air was thick with humidity and the sound of crickets. I pulled up the last family photo I had from the lake, taken the previous summer. Everyone smiling, the water gleaming behind us. I was standing slightly apart, as usual, holding Lucy on my hip. My phone lit up with another cruise photo. This time it was Edith's latest post. Nothing better than quality time with the ones who matter most. Jasher family vacation. The ones who matter most. I walked inside and found Braden's fishing rod propped in the corner, still new and unused. Beside it was Lucy's lake journal, where she drew pictures of the fish she wanted to catch next time. The wine glass shook in my hand as 17 years of being the family afterthought crashed over me at once. The constant comparisons to Edith, the subtle digs about my divorce, the way they'd slowly pushed me to the edges of every family photo, every holiday, every memory. They hadn't cancelled the summer trip because of money. They'd cancelled me. I opened my laptop and pulled up the business plan for Navitrack, my fledgling tech startup. The investor meeting was in 2 days. Until now, I'd been nervous about it. Suddenly, I felt nothing but cold determination. My phone buzzed again. Another cruise photo. I turned it face down without looking. "I promise," I whispered to my sleeping children down the hall. "We will never be left behind again." I just didn't know then exactly how I'd keep that promise, or what it would cost us all. "They're ready for you, Ms. Thomas." Willow's voice snapped me back to reality. I was standing in the gleaming lobby of Venture Capital Partners, gripping my presentation folder so hard my knuckles had turned white. "How do I look?" I whispered. Willow, my brilliant 28-year-old business partner, straightened my blazer. Like someone about to change the world, or at least keep kids safer in it. The boardroom was intimidating, all glass and chrome and serious faces. I set up my prototype of Navitrack, our child safety wearable, on the table. My hands were steady now. They had to be. 3 years ago, I began. My son got lost at a crowded mall. For 17 minutes, I couldn't find him. Those were the longest 17 minutes of my life. The investors leaned forward slightly. I had their attention. That's when I realized existing GPS trackers for kids were bulky, obvious, and easy to remove. So I created this. I held up our sleek bracelet design. Waterproof, tamper-proof, and disguised as a fashion accessory kids actually want to wear. Questions flew. Market size, competition, manufacturing costs. I answered each one with the precision of someone who'd rehearsed in front of their bathroom mirror for months. Impressive, said the lead investor, examining our prototype. But why you? What makes you the one to bring this to market? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Edith. "Mum's birthday dinner Saturday. Bentley's booking that new French place downtown. $200 per person. You in?" I silenced my phone and looked straight at the investor. Because I'm a mother who understands what parents fear most. And I'm stubborn enough to solve problems others ignore. 2 hours later, Willow and I stood in the parking lot, still in shock. $5 million, she kept repeating. They're giving us $5 million. I hugged her, both of us laughing and crying. We did it! We actually did it! That night, I took the kids to their favourite pizza place to celebrate. While they argued over toppings, I checked my emails. There was one from Sandra marked FWD Urgent Lake Property Inquiry. I opened it and froze. It was an email chain accidentally forwarded to Sandra's law firm. Bentley copying Edith and my parents, discussing booking the entire Turner Pines resort for next summer. 8 weeks total, he wrote. Just our immediate family. More intimate that way. More intimate? Like the cruise. Another family vacation I wasn't meant to know about. Mom? Braden's voice pulled me back. Can we get extra cheese? I looked at my son's hopeful face, so much like his father's before the divorce turned bitter. Extra cheese, I agreed, and ice cream after. Later that night, I called Sandra. I was going to delete it, she said, but you needed to know. They're doing it again, I said, my voice flat, planning another family trip without us. After today's investment news? They'll regret that. Sandra paused. Speaking of which, have you told them? I thought about all the times Edith had flaunted her family's success. How Mom and Dad beamed at every achievement of hers while treating mine like pleasant surprises. No, I said, and I'm not going to. Not yet. What are you thinking? I walked to my home office and pulled up the Turner Pines website. The rustic cabins nestled against the lake shore, the dock where Dad taught us to fish, the fire pit where we used to make s'mores. Remember when we were kids, I said, and Edith would hide my toys, then pretend she had no idea where they were. Yeah? Well, I think it's time I learned to play that game too. I clicked on the Contact Us tab. Sandra, I need a favour, a big one. How much do you know about real estate acquisitions? Amber, her tone was cautionary. What exactly are you planning? I thought about the cruise photos, the cancelled lake trip, years of being the family afterthought. Justice, I said simply, or maybe revenge. Is there really a difference? The website showed rental rates for the entire resort. The number was significant, but after today's investment, it might as well have been pocket change. Send me whatever paperwork I need to see, I told Sandra. And, Sandra, let's keep this between us for now. I hung up and opened my laptop to start researching property laws. Outside my window, the moon reflected off my neighbour's pool, reminding me of the lake's shimmer at night. Soon, I thought. Very soon. The gravel crunched under my tyres as I pulled into Turner Pines for the first time in months. The morning fog was just lifting off the lake, and the air smelled like pine needles and possibility. Freddie, the property manager, waited for me on the main office porch. He was exactly as Sandra had described. Weathered face, kind eyes, and a ring of keys that probably hadn't changed in 20 years. Ms. Thomas? He extended his hand. Freddie Valdez, thanks for making the drive out. Please, call me Amber. I followed him inside where a pot of coffee was brewing. I appreciate you meeting me on such short notice. Well, when a potential buyer wants to see the place. He poured us both coffee in ceramic mugs with faded lake designs. Though I admit I'm curious. We don't usually get interest in the whole property. I sipped my coffee, buying time. I heard there might be some long-term booking plans for next summer. Freddie nodded. Yeah, actually. Got a real estate agent, Bentley Little, trying to lock down 8 weeks for his family. Offering above rate too. Has he signed anything yet? Nah, just preliminary talks. Why? I pulled out the folder Sandra had prepared. Because I'd like to make an offer, not for a booking, for the entire resort. Freddie's eyebrows shot up. The whole thing? Every cabin, every dock, every pine needle. I slid the paperwork across his desk. And I can close within 30 days. He whistled low, studying the numbers. This is substantial. Mind if I ask why? Through the office window, I could see the lake sparkling. Memories flooded back, teaching Lucy to swim off the shallow dock. Braden's first caught fish, countless marshmallow sticky evenings around the fire pit. Let's just say I have history here, I replied. Good history I'd like to preserve. Freddie nodded slowly. The owners have been considering selling. Place needs updates they can't afford. He hesitated. But what about the existing bookings? Bentley's family. No contracts signed means no obligations. I met his eyes. And I'd like to keep you on as manager, Freddie, with a raise. He studied me for a long moment. There's more to this story, isn't there? There always is. I stood up. Show me around? We spent the next hour touring the property. The main lodge needed a new roof, and several cabins required modernizing. But the bones were good, strong, like me. Previous owners will want to move fast, Freddie said as we walked the main dock, before peak season planning starts. That works for me. I pulled out my phone and texted Sandra, "Make it happen." Just then, my phone lit up with a FaceTime call from Edith. I almost declined it, but curiosity won out. "Amber!" Her perfect smile filled the screen. "I've missed you so much. Where are you? That looks like... Are you at a lake?" "Just checking out some property." I kept my voice neutral. "What's up?" "Oh, I've been thinking about you. We all have. You should come visit next summer. We're planning this amazing family trip." "Sorry, bad reception," I cut in, watching her face freeze in mock concern. "I'll call you back." I ended the call and turned to Freddie, who was pretending not to listen. "How soon can we start the paperwork?" "I'll call the owners now." He paused. "You sure about this?" I looked out over the lake, remembering all the times I'd watched Edith get the better cabin, the newer kayak, the most attention. Now I'd have them all. "Absolutely sure." The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of contracts, inspections, and bank transfers. Sandra earned every penny of her legal fees, creating an LLC to hide my name from public records until the sale was final. Finally, on a crisp fall morning, I met Freddie outside the main lodge one last time. "Congratulations," he said, handing me the master keys. "She's all yours." "Thanks, Freddie." I weighed the keys in my hand. "Any word from Bentley about the summer booking?" "Left 3 messages yesterday. Should I call him back?" "No need." I smiled, remembering Edith's fake sweet FaceTime call. Let him keep trying. My phone buzzed. A text from Sandra. "Final, papers filed. You're officially the owner. Still want to go through with the rest of the plan?" I thought about my kids' faces when I'd had to tell them the lake trip was cancelled, about the cruise photos, about years of being the family afterthought. "Yes," I texted back. "Send the letters." Freddie was watching me curiously. "Ms. Thomas, Amber, whatever happens next, I'm guessing I should brace for some drama." I pocketed the keys and looked out at my lake, my cabins, my revenge. "Freddie," I said, "you have no idea. The no trespassing orders are ready," Sandra said, spreading documents across my dining room table. "1 for Edith and Bentley, 1 for your parents, 1 for each of their kids over 18. I traced my finger over the legal language. "Will they hold up?" "They're ironclad. As property owner, you have every right to deny access." She hesitated. "But, Amber, once we serve these, there's no going back." Through the sliding glass doors, I could see Braden and Lucy playing in the backyard. They were drawing pictures of fish, planning for next summer. They just didn't know it yet. "Did you see Edith's latest Instagram post?" I pulled up my phone. "Can't wait for our magical summer at the lake. Just blessed family, just your traditions continue." Sandra grimaced. "She's really making this easy, isn't she?" "She always does." I signed the papers one by one. "When will they be served?" "Tomorrow night. They're all having dinner at that new French place downtown. My process server will catch them right as they're leaving." My phone buzzed. A text from Willow. "Big Tech magazine wants to interview you about NaviTrack. They're calling you a rising star in child safety innovation." I showed Sandra the message. Perfect timing. "You're not going to tell them about the business success either?" "Not yet." I gathered the signed papers. Let them think I'm still struggling. It'll make this better. Later that evening, I drove out to the lake alone. Freddie had left the gate code under my name now. Owner access. The word still felt strange. I walked down to the main dock, remembering all the times I'd sat here as a kid, watching Edith get Dad's attention, Mum's praise, the best of everything. The water lapped quietly against the wooden posts. My phone lit up. Mum calling. I let it go to voicemail. Honey, it's Mum. We missed you at my birthday dinner last week. Edith said she tried to reach you about it. Anyway, she's planning this wonderful summer trip for next year. I really hope you can make it work with your budget this time. We hate leaving you out. I deleted the message and dialed Freddie instead. Everything okay? He answered. Has Bentley called again about the booking? 3 more times today. Getting pretty aggressive about it. I smiled in the darkness. Good. Keep dodging him. Will do, boss. He paused. By the way, that contractor came by to quote the cabin renovations. Want me to send you the estimate? Yes. I want everything updated by spring. I looked across the lake to where the most luxurious cabin sat, the one Edith always claimed. Especially cabin 7. After hanging up, I walked the property in the growing darkness. The fire pit where Dad taught Edith to make the perfect s'more while I watched from the sidelines. The shallow beach where Mum helped Edith's kids learn to swim, years after refusing to teach me. Sandra was waiting in my driveway when I got home. Last chance to back out, she said, holding up the legal documents. We can tear these up right now. I thought about the cruise photos, the cancelled trip, the years of subtle exclusion masked as concern about my situation. Send them, she nodded slowly. I'll have my guy text us when it's done tomorrow night. Want company while we wait? No, I hugged her quickly. I need to do this part alone. The next evening, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine, watching the sunset and waiting. At 8:47, my phone buzzed with a text from Sandra's process server. Documents served to all parties. Complete success. I closed my eyes, imagining the scene. My family, walking out of their expensive dinner, being handed legal papers. Edith's perfect mask cracking. Mum's confusion. Dad's silence. Bentley's impotent anger. My phone started buzzing immediately. Calls from Mum, Dad, Edith, text messages piling up. What is this? Call us right now. Have you lost your mind? Answer your phone. I silenced them all and walked inside to check on my sleeping children. Lucy had left her lake journal open on her bed. New drawings of the fish she hoped to catch, the cabin she wanted to stay in. Soon, baby, I whispered, tucking her in. Very soon. Back on the porch, I pulled up the security camera feed Freddie had installed. The lake was silent, dark except for starlight on the water. My lake, my revenge. My phone lit up one last time. A text from Sandra. You okay? I watched a shooting star streak across the lake view on my screen. Never better, I replied, and for the first time in years, it wasn't a lie. Mum and Dad are coming over for dinner tonight, I told the kids at breakfast. I made peace offerings. Really? Braden looked up from his cereal. Grandma and Grandpa haven't visited in forever. I know, honey. I checked my phone. 17 missed calls since last night. That's why I invited them. I spent the afternoon cooking Dad's favourite pot roast and Mum's preferred apple pie. At 6:55 p.m, my phone rang. Mum's number. Amber, sweetheart. Her voice was strained. Something's come up. We can't make it tonight. I gripped the counter. Too busy? Your father isn't feeling well, and with everything that happened yesterday, maybe we should all take some time to cool off. Of course. I kept my voice steady. Feel better, Dad. I hung up and looked at the perfectly set table, at my children's expectant faces. They're not coming, are they? Braden asked quietly. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a notification. Freddie had sent me security camera footage from the lake. I clicked play. There they were. Mum, Dad, Edith, and Bentley, having what looked like a heated discussion on the main dock, trespassing despite the legal orders. Edith was gesturing wildly, Bentley pacing. I forwarded the video to Sandra with the message, "Options?" Her reply was instant. "Police or private security?" I watched my family arguing on my property, planning God knows what. "Neither," I typed back. "Not yet. Let them dig their hole deeper." My phone kept lighting up with messages. Edith had moved from texts to email. "How dare you do this to our family after everything we've done for you? You ungrateful, spiteful little girl. You think you can just buy our memories, our traditions? You're pathetic." I screenshotted the email and saved it to a folder labelled Evidence. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find a courier holding an envelope. "Delivery from Mr. and Mrs. Little," he said. Inside was a formal letter from Bentley's law firm, threatening legal action for emotional distress and interference with family relations. I was still reading when Lucy tugged my sleeve. "Mum, since Grandma and Grandpa aren't coming, can we have pizza instead?" I looked at my daughter's innocent face, then at the legal threats in my hand. "You know what? Yes, and ice cream. And we're eating in front of the TV." Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I got an anonymous letter in my email. The writing style was unmistakably Dad's. "You've broken this family. Your mother can't stop crying. Is this what you wanted? To hurt us all? You're not the daughter we raised." I poured a glass of wine and typed back, "You're right. I'm not the daughter you raised. I'm the one you ignored." Then I deleted it without sending. Instead, I called Willow. "The magazine interview is tomorrow," she said. "What's our angle?" "Success through adversity," I replied. "Single mum overcomes obstacles to protect children everywhere." And Willow, make sure to mention our company valuation. "You're finally going public with the investment news?" "Time to show all my cards," I paused. "Well, almost all of them." My phone buzzed. Another security alert from Freddie. This time showing Bentley examining the cabin locks, testing windows. "Getting interesting over here," Freddie texted. "Want me to confront them?" "No," I replied. "Just keep recording." I walked to Braden's room and found him awake, looking at old lake photos on his phone. "Hey, buddy," I sat on his bed. "Want to hear a secret?" He nodded. "We're going to the lake this summer, all of us." His eyes lit up. "Really? But I thought—" "Things have changed." I smoothed his hair. "I promise you'll never miss another summer there." "Does Aunt Edith know?" "Not yet." I kissed his forehead. "But she will." Back in my room, I opened my laptop to find an email from Mum. Subject line, "Please read. Whatever we did to hurt you, we're sorry. But this revenge, it's beneath you, Amber. You're breaking your father's heart. Call us, please." I closed the laptop without replying and walked to my window. The night was clear. Stars bright, like they always were at the lake. My phone buzzed one last time. "Sandra, you okay? This is getting intense." I thought about the dinner no one came to. The legal threats, the guilt trips, the trespassing. "They think I'm breaking the family," I typed back. "But you can't break what was already broken. You can only rebuild it on your terms." "And these are your terms?" I watched another shooting star streak across the sky. "No," I replied. "These are just the opening moves." "Your sister just went nuclear," Sandra said, sending me a link. Check Facebook. Edith's post was already going viral in our local community. My own sister bought an entire lake resort out of spite, just to keep our family from making memories there. Some people let divorce and bitterness poison their souls. Pray for her. Bogus Toxic's family such as pray for healing. I was still reading the comments when Willow called. "Have you seen the magazine article? It's trending!" I switched tabs to the tech magazine's website. There it was, my face on the digital cover. NaviTrack, CEO revolutionizes child safety. How one mother's fear became a $50 million innovation. Perfect timing, I said, watching the article spread across LinkedIn. How's the stock price? Up 40% since opening. Willow paused. Your family's going to see this. That's the point. I posted the article to my own LinkedIn with a simple message. Success isn't about who believes in you. It's about believing in yourself. Proud to protect children everywhere. Der women in tech of perseverance. Within hours, my inbox was flooded. Old classmates, distant relatives, even my ex-husband, all suddenly remembering my existence. Then came the text from Dad. Just saw the news. Why didn't you tell us? We're your parents. I was composing a response when Braden walked in. Mum, can I ask you something? Always. Are we ever going back to the lake? I closed my laptop. Actually, I was thinking, how about this weekend? His eyes widened. Really? Really? Go tell your sister to pack. I texted Freddie. Coming up Friday with the kids and some friends. Then I called Sandra. Time for phase 2. Gather the troops. By Friday afternoon, the lake was alive with laughter. I'd invited everyone who'd supported me through the hard years. Sandra, Willow, my divorce support group, single mums from Lucy's school. Kids splashed in the water while adults grilled on the deck. This place is amazing, Willow said, watching Lucy learn to paddleboard from one of the mums. You should run summer programs here for single-parent families. Already working on it. I handed her a business plan. Starting next season, Sandra joined us, phone in hand. Heads up, Edith's post is getting attention. Local news wants to interview her about the family dispute. Let her talk. I watched Braden teaching his friend to fish. Truth has a way of coming out. Speaking of truth, Sandra nodded toward the gate. We've got company. A familiar car was pulling up the drive. Mum's silver SUV. Want me to call security? Freddie asked, appearing at my side. No. I stood up. I'll handle this. Mom got out looking smaller than I remembered, clutching her purse like a shield. Amber, her voice cracked. I saw the article, the business. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have changed anything? I kept my voice level. Would you have cancelled the cruise? Included us in the lake plans? We never meant to hurt you. Really? I gestured to the happy scene around us. Because this is what family looks like, Mum. These people showed up when you didn't. They celebrated my successes while you were busy celebrating Edith's. We were wrong, she whispered, but this revenge, buying the lake, it's not you. No, it's Edith. It's what she would do. I met her eyes. I learned from the best. Grandma. Lucy's voice cut through the tension as she ran up, dripping wet. Want to see me paddleboard? Mum's eyes filled with tears. I should go. Yes, you should. I picked up Lucy. Because of your trespassing. And unlike you, I actually mean it when I say family only. I turned away, carrying Lucy back to the water where her new friends waited. Amber, please, Mum called after me. Don't do this. Already done. I didn't look back. Tell Edith she can do all the interviews she wants. I've got nothing to hide anymore. That evening, after everyone left and the kids were asleep in their cabin, I sat on the main dock watching the sunset. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Bentley. This isn't over. You're not the only one with resources. I smiled and typed back. Actually, it is over. You just don't know it yet. Sandra joined me on the dock with 2 glasses of wine. Your mum's visit will add fuel to Edith's fire, she warned. Good. I took a sip. Let it burn. You know what happens next, right? I watched the last light fade from the lake. My lake. and thought about the next phase of the plan. Yeah, I said. The real fun begins. The local news van pulled up to Turner Pines just as I finished my morning coffee. Edith had finally gotten her interview, and she'd chosen to do it right at the lake's entrance. Perfect. They're here, Freddie texted. Want me to run them off? No, I replied. Let them set up, but keep recording. I watched from my office window as Edith positioned herself perfectly, the lake gleaming behind her. Mum and Dad stood off to the side, trying to look appropriately concerned for the cameras. My phone rang. Sandra. You watching this circus? Front row seat. Want me to send the cease and desist? Not yet. Let's see what she does first. The reporter was setting up when I walked outside, making my way casually to the dock. Right on cue, Edith spotted me. There she is! She pointed dramatically, her voice carrying across the water. The sister who stole our family's happiness. The camera swung toward me. I kept walking. Amber, the reporter hurried over. Care to comment on your sister's allegations? I turned, smiling my best CEO smile. Which allegations? The ones about me being bitter and toxic? Or the ones about me stealing happiness? You know exactly what you did. Edith stormed over, Mum trailing behind her. You bought this place just to hurt us. Actually, I pulled out my phone. I bought it as an investment, part of Navitrack's community outreach program. We're converting it into a summer camp for children of single parents. The reporter's eyes lit up. The child safety company that just hit the NASDAQ? The same. I met Edith's gaze. We're starting renovations next week. In fact, I should thank my family. If they hadn't excluded me from their plans, I might never have seen the property's potential. That's a lie! Edith's perfect mask was cracking. You did this for revenge! Honey, Mum reached for her arm. Maybe we should... No! Edith jerked away. She's trying to rewrite history. We never excluded her. She couldn't afford... The cruise, I finished quietly. Funny how that worked out while you were all claiming financial hardship. The reporter was scribbling frantically. Or maybe, I continued, you meant the summer booking Bentley tried to make. The one where he specifically requested that no other families be allowed on the property during your stay. Dad stepped forward finally. Amber, please. This isn't how our family handles things. No. Our family handles things by pretending they're not happening, by letting Edith make all the decisions, by treating me like an inconvenience since the day I was born. That's not true. Mum's voice broke. Really? I pulled up photos on my phone. Should we go through these? The cruise pictures, the family-only dinners I wasn't invited to, the... Enough! Edith lunged forward, trying to grab my phone. The camera caught everything. Mrs. Little, the reporter called out, are you attempting to assault your sister on her private property? Edith froze, realizing what she'd done. Her perfect image shattered on camera. This interview is over, Bentley appeared, trying to salvage the situation. We'll be pursuing legal action. No, I cut in. You won't. Because if you do, I'll countersue for harassment, trespassing, and attempted assault, all of which I have on video. I gestured to Freddie's security cameras. And, unlike you, I can afford a very long legal battle. The silence was deafening. Now, I continued, you're all trespassing. Again. So either leave voluntarily, or I'll have you escorted out. Your choice. You've destroyed this family, Edith spat. No, Edith, you did that. I'm just done pretending it never happened. I turned to the reporter. If you'd like a real story, I'd be happy to show you our plans for the summer camp. We're partnering with several domestic violence shelters to provide safe vacations for families in transition. As security led my family away, Mum looked back one last time. Was it worth it? She asked softly. Hurting us like this? I watched them go. The people who had shaped my whole life with their subtle cruelties and casual exclusions. Yes, I said, but they were already too far away to hear. Later that night, alone on the dock, I finally let the tears come. Not for them, but for the little girl who had spent years believing she deserved less, who had watched from the sidelines as Edith got everything. My phone lit up, Sandra checking in. "You okay?" I wiped my eyes and looked out over my lake, where tomorrow my kids would swim and laugh and make new memories. "No," I typed back honestly, "but I will be." And for the first time in my life, that felt like enough. "Mom! Mom!" I caught one. Braden's voice echoed across the lake as he held up his fishing rod, a small bass thrashing at the end of the line. I rushed to help him reel it in, showing him how to hold the fish for a quick photo before releasing it back into the water. His grin was brighter than the summer sun overhead. "Just like you taught me," he said proudly. "Just like I taught you," I agreed, remembering all the times I'd watched Dad teach Edith's kids instead of mine. Lucy came running down the dock, waving a letter. Mail came! I recognised Mum's handwriting immediately. This was the third letter she'd sent since the news interview went viral. I'd burned the first two without reading them. "Want me to get rid of it?" Sandra asked, appearing beside me with coffee. "No." I tucked it into my pocket. "Not this time." The lake was alive with activity. Our first group of single-parent families had arrived yesterday. 5 mums with their kids, all getting a fresh start. Willow was teaching some of the children to kayak, while Freddie gave a fishing lesson to others. "The reporter called again," Sandra said. "The story about our summer program is getting national attention. Ellen wants you on her show. Let's do it." I watched a mother teaching her daughter to swim, remembering how I'd had to learn on my own. The more publicity, the better. "Edith's gone quiet," Sandra added. "No more social media posts, no more legal threats. She's licking her wounds, she'll be back." "And when she is?" I smiled. "We'll be ready." That evening, after getting the kids settled in their cabin, I finally opened Mum's letter. Inside was a single photograph, me at age 7, sitting alone on this very dock, fishing rod in hand. Her note was simple. "I found this while cleaning. I don't remember who took it, but I remember that day. You caught your first fish, and no one was there to see it. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry for a lot of things." "Deep thoughts?" Willow joined me on the dock, handing me a glass of wine. "Just ghosts," I replied, tucking the photo away. "The renovation plans are finalised," she said. "Construction starts next week. You sure about converting Cabin 7? Cabin 7, Edith's favourite, the one she'd always claimed first. "Absolutely. It'll make a perfect community centre for the families." My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. "Saw the news about the summer programme. You've built something good here. Wish we'd seen your strength sooner." I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. Lucy appeared in her pyjamas, clutching her lake journal. "Can we make s'mores?" Soon we were all gathered around the fire pit. My kids, Sandra, Willow, Freddie, and our guest families. The night air was thick with the smell of chocolate and wood smoke. "Tell us a story," one of the children asked. I looked around the circle of faces lit by firelight. At my son, confident and kind. At my daughter, drawing new memories in her journal. At these families finding their way back to joy. "Once," I began, "there was a little girl who thought she didn't deserve nice things. Later, after everyone had gone to bed, Sandra found me still at the fire pit. 'You never answered my question,' she said. 'Was it worth it?' I thought about Edith's public meltdown, Mum's letters, Dad's text, the families now sleeping peacefully in cabins that once felt like forbidden territory. 'Look around,' I said. 'We took something broken and made it into something beautiful. That's better than revenge.' 'But you still got the revenge, Sandra grinned. That too. A shooting star streaked across the sky, and I remembered all the wishes I'd made on this lake as a child. Wishes to be included, to be enough, to be seen. Mom, Braden called from his cabin, can you tuck me in again? Coming, honey. I stood, brushing sand from my jeans. You know what the best revenge is, Sandra? What's that? Living well, and making sure no other child feels as alone as I did. I headed toward my son's voice, leaving the ghosts of my past where they belonged, behind me in the dark, while I walked toward the light of something better. Not an ending, but a beginning. And this time, I was writing the story.
The day my parents called begging for my life savings, I should have known it was a trap. But even at 32, some part of me was still that desperate little girl, hoping that maybe this time they'd finally see me. I'm Daphne, and this is the story of how I lost everything, and then made sure my family lost even more. The call came on a Tuesday evening while I was editing manuscripts, my usual freelance work. Mum's voice cracked with tears, something I'd rarely heard in my life. Daphne, please, we need your help. We're about to lose the house. I sat up straighter, my fingers hovering over my keyboard. What happened? The bank, Dad's voice now shaking. We've fallen behind on payments. They're threatening foreclosure. We need $60,000 by next week, or we lose everything. The amount hit me like a punch to the gut. That was almost everything I'd saved over the past decade. Every extra editing job, every skipped vacation, every cheap apartment I'd lived in, all of it added up to just over that amount. I know it's a lot, Mom whispered, but we'll put you on the deed. The house will be partly yours. Please, sweetheart, we have nowhere else to turn. My sister Sierra's voice echoed in the background. Is she going to help us or not? I closed my eyes, remembering all the times Sierra got new cars while I took the bus. All the times they paid her rent while I worked 2 jobs. All the times they forgot my birthday but threw elaborate parties for her. I need to think about it, I said. We don't have time. Mom's voice rose sharply. The bank. I'll call you back in an hour. I hung up and immediately called Emmett, my ex-boyfriend turned friend who happened to be a lawyer. I need your help, I said when he answered, and I need you to be brutally honest with me. 20 minutes later, we sat in his office, him in his wrinkled suit, me still in my work-from-home sweats. You want my professional opinion? He asked, leaning back in his chair. Don't do it, but you're going to anyway, aren't you? I nodded. Then let's protect you. He pulled out a legal pad. We're drawing up a loan agreement, interest rates, repayment terms, consequences for default, everything. They won't sign it, I said. Then you don't give them the money. He started writing. Simple as that. 2 hours later, I stood in my parents' living room, document in hand. The house smelled like Mom's stress baking, cinnamon and desperation. Sierra lounged on the couch, scrolling through her phone, like this was just another family gathering. What's this? Mom asked, frowning at the papers. Loan agreement. Standard stuff. You put me on the deed, I give you the money, you repay me within 2 years. Dad's face darkened. You don't trust us. Would you trust someone asking for $60,000 without paperwork? Sierra finally looked up. Wow, Daphne, real nice. They're our parents. Then they shouldn't have a problem signing. Mom's hands shook as she read the first page. This seems excessive. It's standard, I said, keeping my voice steady. Ask any lawyer. We don't have time to consult lawyers, Dad snapped. The bank. Then sign. I held out a pen. Or I walk out that door and you can figure something else out. They signed. Both of them right there on my carefully crafted loan agreement. They didn't even read past the first page, too desperate for the money, too certain they could handle their quiet, reliable daughter later. I transferred the money that night. All of it. Everything I'd worked for, gone in a single transaction. Mum hugged me, crying about how I'd saved them all. Sierra rolled her eyes and went back to her phone. Dad promised they'd start the deed transfer immediately. Later that night, as I drove home, my hands shook so badly I had to pull over. I called Audrey, my best friend since college. "I did something either really stupid or really smart," I said when she answered. "Tell me you didn't give them the money." "I did, but I got something better." I looked at the signed agreement in my passenger seat. "I got proof." "Proof of what?" "That they're going to try to screw me over." I started my car again, suddenly calmer. "And when they do, I'll be ready." I was still stupid, but not as stupid as they thought I was. And soon they'd learn exactly how much that mistake would cost them. 3 weeks passed before I decided to make a surprise visit. I'd been calling daily about the deed transfer, but Mum always had an excuse. The lawyer was busy, the paperwork was complicated, they needed more time. That Sunday afternoon I drove to their house, determined to get answers. I parked a block away, a habit from my teenage years when I'd sneak out. The kitchen door had always been my secret entrance, and muscle memory guided me around the side of the house. But voices stopped me before I could knock. "I can't believe she fell for it." Sierra's laugh sharp and clear through the window. $60,000, just like that. My hand froze midair. "Well, she always was the responsible one." Mum's voice now, tinged with amusement. "Our little emergency fund. The best part is," Dad chuckled, "she thinks we're putting her on the deed, as if we hadn't already transferred it to Sierra last month." The world tilted sideways. I pressed my back against the wall, struggling to breathe. "But what about her loan agreement?" Sierra asked. "Shouldn't we be worried?" "Please." Mom's eye roll was audible. "It's Daphne. She'd never take us to court. She's too desperate for our approval. Besides," Dad added, "we can always claim it was a gift. She's been giving us money her whole life. No judge would side with her." My fingers found the loan agreement in my purse. I always carried it with me, paranoid about them somehow destroying their copy. Now I knew why. "I still think we should be careful," Sierra said. "She's not as stupid as she looks. Sweetheart, I've been managing your sister's expectations her entire life. Trust me, she'll roll over like she always does. Now, about that down payment for your new condo." I didn't stay to hear more. My legs carried me back to my car on autopilot, my mind eerily quiet. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing, letting their words sink in. Emergency fund, rollover, gift. My phone buzzed. Audrey calling. I answered without thinking. "Hey, I'm at that new cafe we talked about. Want to join?" "They planned it," I heard myself say. "The whole thing, they transferred the deed to Sierra before they even asked me for money." Silence, then, "Don't move, I'm coming to you." "Where are you?" "Outside their house." "Jesus, Daphne, drive to my place, now." 20 minutes later, I sat on Audrey's couch, clutching a coffee she'd shoved into my hands. She paced in front of me, her therapist mode fully activated. "We need to call Emmett," she said. "No." I pulled out the loan agreement. "Not yet." "Daphne, they stole from you. I know exactly what they did." My voice was steady now, cold. "They thought they were so clever, getting me to empty my savings. They thought I was still that desperate little girl who'd do anything for a scrap of love." Audrey stopped pacing. "What are you going to do?" I smoothed out the agreement on her coffee table. "You know what the beautiful thing about this document is? They didn't read it. They were so sure I was harmless they signed without reading." And Emmett added some interesting clauses about asset disclosure, about fraud, about what happens if they try to transfer property without notifying me. I looked up at Audrey, feeling something dark and satisfied unfurl in my chest. "They signed their own sentence and they don't even know it." "You're scaring me a little," Audrey said, but she was smiling. "Good, because I'm about to scare them a lot more." I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. First, I'm going to transfer every penny I have left to a new account they can't access. Then I'm going to call Emmett. And then I'm going to show them exactly how stupid I'm not. I stood up, suddenly energized. They wanted to play games? Fine. But they forgot something important. What's that? I've been watching them play these games my whole life. I know all their moves. I grabbed my keys, and I've got proof of every single one. As I drove home that evening, their laughter echoed in my head. But this time it didn't hurt. This time it fueled me. You made a mistake, Mom, I whispered to my empty car. You signed my freedom and your sentence. The war they didn't know was coming would start tomorrow, and this time I wasn't playing by their rules. The demand letter arrived at their house exactly 1 week later. I paid extra for certified mail requiring a signature. Mum signed for it at 10:43 a.m. on a Tuesday. By 10:47, my phone was exploding. I let it ring while I finished my coffee, watching the notifications pile up. 3 calls from Mum, 2 from Dad, 5 text messages from Sierra, each one more hysterical than the last. Finally, I answered. What is this? Mum's voice trembled with rage. I believe the letter is quite clear, I said, channeling Emmett's professional tone. You have 60 days to repay the loan in full, or we proceed with legal action. Legal action? She sputtered. We're your family. Yes, you made that very clear when you transferred the deed to Sierra before asking for my money. Silence. Then, you were at the house. The kitchen door was always my favourite entrance. You taught me that, remember? All those times you locked me out. Dad's voice cut in. Now listen here, young lady. No, you listen. My voice could have frozen hell. You have 60 days, every penny plus interest as outlined in the agreement you signed. Otherwise, I file suit and pursue asset forfeiture. Asset, Mom choked. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Sierra's voice now, shrill and panicked. You can't do this. The house is mine. Actually, about that, I smiled into the phone. You might want to check the property records again. Seems there are some interesting discrepancies in the transfer documentation. Another silence, heavier this time. What did you do? Mum whispered. Me? Nothing yet, but the mortgage company might have received an anonymous tip about potential fraud. Funny how quickly they start investigating when words like forged documents come up. You bitch, Sierra breathed. I learnt from the best, sis. I checked my watch. 60 days, not a minute more. I hung up and immediately blocked their numbers. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. Adrenaline coursed through me, electric and alive. My phone buzzed again. Emmett. They got the letter, he said when I answered. How do you know? Because your mother just called my office screaming about ungrateful daughters and family loyalty. I recorded the whole thing. I laughed. Of course you did. She threatened to sue me for malpractice, said I manipulated you into this. What did you say? I reminded her that she signed a legally binding document without reading it. Then I hung up. He paused. You know they're going to fight this. Let them. I opened my laptop, pulling up the folder labelled Family Business. That's exactly what I'm counting on. Later that afternoon I met Audrey for lunch. She was already waiting at our usual table, 2 glasses of wine ready. You look different, she said as I sat down. Different how? Lighter, like you finally put down something heavy. I took a sip of wine. I sent the letter. And now we wait. I pulled out my phone, showing her the blocked numbers. They can't reach me directly anymore. Everything goes through Emmett. They must be losing their minds. Oh, they are, I smiled. But here's the best part. I had Emmett send copies of the loan agreement to their country club board. You know, the one where Mom's been treasurer for 15 years. Audrey's eyes widened. You didn't. Along with some questions about the club's financial records. Anonymous, of course. Daphne, she leaned forward. That's deliciously evil. No, that's just the beginning. I pulled up an email on my phone. Remember Summer, Mom's old friend who suddenly disappeared 10 years ago? The one they said moved to Florida. She never moved. Mum forced her out of the social circle after discovering some interesting financial irregularities at their charity foundation. I showed her the email. Summer's been waiting years to tell her story. Holy shit. Mom always said image was everything. I put my phone away. Let's see how she likes watching hers crumble. Audrey studied me over her wine glass. You're really doing this. They thought I was weak because I was quiet, because I watched and waited and kept my mouth shut. I met her eyes. But I saw everything. And now they're going to see exactly what I learned. My phone buzzed with a text from Emmett. Your sister's boyfriend just called. Says he has information you need to hear. I showed Audrey the message. Think it's a trap? She asked. Probably. I finished my wine. But I'm done running from their traps. This time I'm setting them. The game was changing, and for once I held all the cards. I met Heath at a coffee shop downtown far from my parents' usual haunts. He was already there when I arrived, fidgeting with his designer watch, the one Sierra had bragged about buying him last Christmas. With my money, apparently. Thanks for meeting me, he said as I sat down. Make it quick. I kept my coat on. I have a meeting in 30 minutes. Look, Sierra doesn't know I'm here. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. Your parents, they're not who you think they are. Actually, they're exactly who I think they are. No, you don't understand. He glanced around nervously. The house isn't the first time they've done something like this. That got my attention. Go on. Your mum's been running this scheme for years. She finds wealthy friends, gains their trust, becomes treasurer of their organizations, and then... He made a vanishing gesture with his hands. Like Summer. His eyes widened. You know about Summer? I know enough. I pulled out my phone and hit record. Why don't you tell me more? An hour later, I sat in Emmett's office playing back Heath's confession. Emmett's expression grew darker with each revelation. So your mother's been embezzling from multiple organizations, he said when the recording finished. And your father's been helping cover it up through his accounting firm. While Sierra plays the perfect daughter, distracting everyone with her charity work and social connections. I laughed bitterly. The perfect front. This is bigger than the loan now. Emmett started typing on his computer. We're talking serious fraud charges. Can we prove it? With Summer's testimony and Heath's information, he nodded. We can start pulling threads. These things leave paper trails. My phone buzzed. A text from Summer. Just got served with a cease and desist letter from your mother's lawyer. She's trying to shut me up. I showed Emmett the message. She's scared, he said. Good. Scared people make mistakes. That evening I drove past my parents' house. The country club's annual garden party was in full swing, their last-ditch attempt at maintaining appearances. Through the front windows I could see Mom holding court in her favourite blue dress, laughing with her society friends. But something was off. The crowd was thinner than usual. People were checking their phones, whispering in corners. The Foundation's financial records had started circulating that morning, courtesy of an anonymous email blast. My phone rang. An unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Is this Daphne? A woman's voice, vaguely familiar. Who's asking? Margaret, from the garden committee. She lowered her voice. I saw the numbers, the missing funds from the Children's Hospital fundraiser. I think I know where they went. By midnight, I had 3 more calls like that. Former friends, business associates, people Mom had stepped on during her climb to social prominence. They all had stories. They all had proof. Audrey came over with wine and takeout, listening as I pieced it all together. Your mother's like a black widow, she said, spinning this web of lies and stealing from everyone who trusts her. And Sierra's following in her footsteps. I showed her the latest email, bank statements showing suspicious transfers from the youth centre where Sierra volunteered. The golden child learned well. What are you going to do with all this? Everything goes to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. I closed my laptop, but first I want them to feel what's coming. The next morning, Mum's social media exploded with unfollows and angry comments. The country club board called an emergency meeting. Dad's biggest accounting clients started quietly taking their business elsewhere. Sierra called Emmett's office in tears. "Tell her to stop," she begged. "Tell her we'll pay back the money." "It's too late for that," he replied. "The truth doesn't stop just because you're ready to confess." That afternoon, Summer called me. "Your mother just tried to bribe me," she said. "Offered me double what she stole if I'll retract my statement." "What did you say?" "I told her this isn't the first time they've stolen from you." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "Oh, honey," Summer's voice softened. "There's something you need to know about your college fund. The one that mysteriously disappeared right before your freshman year." I gripped the phone tighter. "Tell me everything." The truth was worse than I imagined. But it was just the beginning. The house of cards was starting to fall, and my family was about to learn that karma has perfect aim. Sierra ambushed me outside my apartment on a rainy Thursday morning. She looked terrible, designer clothes wrinkled, makeup smeared, nothing like her usual perfect self. "We need to talk," she said, blocking my path to my car. "Everything goes through Emmett. Please." Her voice cracked. "Mom and Dad, they're not well. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. Mom can barely sleep. Guilty consciences will do that. They're our parents." She grabbed my arm. "How can you be so cold?" I yanked free. "Funny how family matters now that you're all facing consequences. I know we hurt you." "Hurt me?" I laughed. "You stole my college fund, made me work 3 jobs while you got a free ride. Then you helped them steal my savings and tried to forge my signature on property documents." She paled. "How did you—" "Heath talks a lot when he's scared." I stepped closer. "Tell me, did you forge the signature yourself or did Mom do it for you?" "It's not what you think." "Really? Because I think you're only here because the walls are closing in. The country club's auditing their books. Dad's clients are leaving. Your precious reputation is in tatters." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "They'll lose everything." "They already lost me. They just never cared enough to notice." My phone buzzed. Emmett calling. Sierra grabbed my wrist as I reached for it. "Wait, what if I could prove they're sorry? What if they agreed to pay everything back?" I studied her face, the desperation, the calculation behind the tears. Same old Sierra, always working an angle. "Show me your phone," I said suddenly. "What?" "Your phone. Show me." She hesitated, then handed it over. I opened her recording app and found exactly what I expected, an active recording. "Still Mom's perfect little spy, aren't you?" I stopped the recording and emailed it to myself. "Thanks for the evidence of attempted manipulation. Emmett will love this." "You bitch!" Her mask finally cracked. "You think you're so smart, but you have no idea what's coming. Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." She stepped back, suddenly composed. "You want to play hardball? Fine, but remember, I learned from the best." She stormed off to her Mercedes, leaving me shaking with adrenaline. I called Emmett immediately. "Sierra just tried to set me up," I said when he answered. Recording the conversation, probably hoping I'd incriminate myself. "Perfect timing," he replied. "I was just about to call you. We found something interesting in the property records." "What?" "The signature they forged. It wasn't just on the deed transfer. There are multiple documents with your fake signature, going back years." My stomach dropped. "How many?" "At least a dozen. Loan applications, tax documents, even some insurance policies. They've been forging my signature for years. Looks like it. And guess who notarized most of these documents?" "Heath," I whispered. "Bingo. He's agreed to testify in exchange for immunity." I leaned against my car, letting the rain soak through my jacket. What else did he say? That's the interesting part. He claims Sierra has a safety deposit box at First National, one she visits every time there's a major document signing. You think that's where they keep the forgeries? Only one way to find out? He paused. But we need to move fast. Sierra's getting sloppy, which means she's desperate. That afternoon, I met Audrey for lunch. She listened as I recounted everything. You know what's weird? She said when I finished. Through all of this, they're still more worried about their reputation than actually fixing things. That's because they don't think they did anything wrong. I stirred my untouched coffee. In their minds, they were entitled to my money, to my signature, to my life. And now they're about to learn about real consequences. I showed her the email from Emmett, a court order for Sierra's safety deposit box. The hearing's tomorrow. Are you ready? For the truth? No. I looked out the window at the rain. For justice? Absolutely. My phone buzzed with a text from Heath. Sierra's at the bank right now. She knows you're coming for the box. I forwarded it to Emmett, who replied immediately. Already called the bank. Box is frozen. Nothing goes in or out. Checkmate, I whispered. What? Audrey asked. They're running out of moves. I grabbed my keys. And I'm done playing defense. Tomorrow, that safety deposit box would tell its secrets, and my family would learn that their perfect plan had one fatal flaw. They underestimated the daughter they never wanted. The courthouse hallway felt like a battlefield. My parents and Sierra huddled with their lawyer on one side, while Emmett and I stood on the other. Heath sat alone in the middle, looking like he might throw up. Last chance, Mum's lawyer called across the hall. We can settle this privately. Not anymore, Emmett replied, holding up the court order for the safety deposit box. Sierra's face went white. She grabbed her lawyer's arm, whispering frantically. Mum's perfect posture crumbled slightly. The bailiff called us in. As we filed past Heath, Sierra hissed, "Traitor!" He flinched, but said nothing. Judge Martinez didn't waste time on pleasantries. We're here regarding evidence of document forgery and financial fraud. The contents of safety deposit box 247 have been secured. Yes, Your Honour, the bank representative confirmed. The box was sealed yesterday afternoon, shortly after Ms. Sierra attempted to access it. Attempted? The judge raised an eyebrow. She became agitated when denied access. Security had to escort her out. Sierra sank lower in her seat. Mum's fingers dug into Dad's arm. Proceed with the opening, Judge Martinez ordered. The bank representative placed the box on the evidence table. My heart pounded as she turned the key. Inside lay dozens of documents neatly organised. The bank representative handed them to the court clerk, who began reading loan applications dating from 2015 to present, tax documents, property transfers, all bearing the signature of Daphne. Objection! Sierra's lawyer jumped up. These documents are private family matters. Which were subpoenaed legally, Emmett interrupted, and we have an expert witness ready to testify about the forgeries. Heath stood up shakily. Sierra's face twisted with rage. You lying piece of... Ms. Sierra! Judge Martinez banged her gavel. Control yourself or be removed. Heath approached the witness stand. Under oath, he detailed everything. Sierra's practice sessions perfecting my signature, Mom's careful coaching, Dad's strategic notarizing. And these, Emmett held up a stack of papers. Templates, Heath said quietly. They used them whenever they needed Daphne's signature on something new. Mom finally broke. We did it for the family. Everything was for the family. Mrs. Regina, the judge warned. She was always so difficult about money, Mom continued, hysteria creeping into her voice. Always questioning, always refusing to help. We had to commit fraud. I stood up. Had to steal my identity, my college fund, my savings. You ungrateful... Sierra lunged forward, but her lawyer grabbed her. Your Honour, Emmett said calmly, We moved to freeze all assets pending criminal investigation. The evidence suggests this fraud extends well beyond my client. No! Mom's scream echoed through the courtroom. You can't! The house that was fraudulently transferred. Emmett produced more documents. We have proof the deed transfer used a forged signature, making it null and void. Sierra started crying. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. Mom just kept shaking her head, whispering, "No, no, no." The judge reviewed the evidence, her expression growing darker with each page. "I've seen enough," she finally said. "Assets frozen pending investigation. The property transfer is invalidated and—" She looked directly at my family. "I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal charges." "Criminal?" Dad whispered. "Identity theft, fraud, financial exploitation, multiple counts." The judge closed her folder. "I strongly suggest you all get criminal defense attorneys." As we left the courtroom, Sierra screamed after me, "You've ruined everything." I turned back slowly. "No, you did that yourselves. Every lie, every theft, every time you chose greed over love." I met Mom's eyes. I just exposed it. Outside, Heath caught up to me. "There's something else you should know." "What now? The reason they needed your college fund?" He glanced around nervously. "Sierra was in trouble, big trouble, the kind that needed expensive lawyers to make disappear." "What kind of trouble?" "Ask your mum about the hospital records from 2015, the ones she paid to have sealed." He handed me a folded paper. "This is the case number." I watched him walk away, that final piece of information burning in my hand. Emmett appeared beside me. "Want me to look into it?" he asked. "Not yet." I tucked the paper away. "First, I want them to sit with this, to feel what's coming. They won't go down quietly." "I know." I looked back at the courthouse where my family huddled with their lawyers. "But for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of their noise." That night I sat in my apartment staring at the case number Heath had given me. One more secret, one more lie. Tomorrow I'd start digging. But tonight I let myself feel the weight of victory and the price of justice. The war wasn't over, but I'd just won the biggest battle. The hospital records arrived on a Tuesday morning. Emmett handed me the manila envelope with an uncharacteristic hesitation. "Are you sure you want to read these?" I took the envelope. "How bad is it?" "Bad enough that your mother paid $500,000 to make it disappear." He sat down heavily. "Money that apparently came from your college fund." Inside were police reports, medical records, and witness statements. As I read, the world tilted sideways. Sierra had been driving drunk. There'd been an accident, a family of 4. "They died," my voice cracked. "The parents survived, the children didn't." Emmett's voice was gentle. "Your parents used their connections to bury it. Changed records, paid off officials. Sierra walked away without a scratch, legally and literally. My college fund, my future, sacrificed to cover up my sister's crimes. Does she even remember?" I whispered. "According to Heath, she jokes about it at parties, calls it her lucky escape. The rage that filled me was Arctic cold." I picked up my phone and dialed a number I'd been saving. "Detective Roberts, I have information about a cold case from 2015. Everything moved quickly after that. By evening, police cars lined our family street. I watched from my car as they led Sierra out in handcuffs, Mom screaming on the front lawn, Dad silent and grey-faced. My phone buzzed. "Audrey." "It's all over the news," she said when I answered. "How are you holding up?" "I'm at the house, watching." "Want company?" "No, but thanks." I watched as Mom collapsed dramatically onto the grass. "I need to do something first." I waited until the police cars left, then walked up to the front door. Mom saw me through the window and yanked it open. "How could you?" she shrieked. Your own sister! How could I? I stepped past her into the house. 2 children died, Mom, and you covered it up. We had to protect her. With my money, my future. I turned to face her. Did you ever even hesitate? Of course we did, Dad spoke up from his armchair. But Sierra, she's special. She needed consequences, I cut in. She needed to face what she'd done. Instead, you taught her that money solves everything. That lives don't matter as long as you can pay to make problems disappear. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I pulled out my phone and played a recording. Sierra at a party, laughing about her lucky escape. Mum's face crumpled. Where did you get that? Heath recorded everything. Every joke, every casual mention of the accident. He's been collecting evidence for years, waiting for someone to finally hold her accountable. We'll fix this, Mum said desperately. We'll hire lawyers. No. I walked to the family photos on the wall, dozens of Sierra, barely any of me. You can't fix this with money anymore. The DA has everything. The original accident reports, the falsified records, the bribes. It's over. What do you want? Dad asked quietly. I want you to sit in this empty house and think about every choice you made. Every time you chose Sierra over justice. Every time you used my money to cover her crimes. I turned to leave. The house is mine now, legally. You have 48 hours to move out. You're evicting us? Mum's voice rose to a shriek. After everything we've done for you? I laughed, a cold, hard sound. Everything you've done for me. You stole my future to cover up your precious daughter's murders. You forged my signature and stole my savings. You've done nothing for me except teach me exactly who you are. We're your parents. No. I opened the front door. You're just people who had a daughter they never wanted and another they never controlled. And now you get to live with those choices. Outside, reporters had gathered. Cameras flashed as I walked to my car. Mum ran out after me. All I wanted was your honesty, I told her, loud enough for the cameras to hear. You cashed that in for Sierra's comfort. Now you get to watch it all burn. Later that night I sat in Emmett's office watching the news coverage. Sierra's mugshot, the accident details. My parents' role in the cover-up. The DA wants to make a deal, Emmett said. They'll reduce Sierra's charges if she testifies against your parents about the cover-up. Let me guess, she's already agreed? Faster than you can say self-preservation. He smiled grimly. The golden child's crown is tarnished. I nodded, feeling strangely empty. What now? Now? He handed me the house keys. Now you decide what justice looks like. I took the keys, their weight, familiar yet different. Like everything else, they felt like both an ending and a beginning. But something still nagged at me. One last secret, waiting in that house. I just didn't know how much more truth I could handle. The house felt different, empty. My footsteps echoed through bare rooms as I walked upstairs, past the blank spaces where family photos once hung. Mum and Dad had moved out yesterday, leaving behind only what they couldn't carry. In their bedroom I found Mom's old vanity, too heavy to move quickly. The drawers were empty except for one stuck at the back. I yanked it open and found a leather-bound journal. My phone rang. Audrey. Have you seen the news? She asked when I answered. Sierra took the deal. She's testifying tomorrow. Let me guess, she's throwing our parents under the bus. Completely. She's claiming they forced her to keep quiet about the accident, playing victim. I opened the journal, Mom's familiar handwriting filling the pages. Hold on, I need to call you back. The first entry was dated the day I was born. As I read, my hands began to shake. I can't love her like I should, Mum had written. She's not Talon's. Every time I look at her, I see my mistake, my shame. But Talon agreed to raise her as his own, to never tell her the truth. We'll have our own child soon, a real family. The journal fell from my numb fingers. Suddenly everything made sense. The constant rejection, the favoritism, the way Dad could never quite meet my eyes. I drove to the detention centre where they were holding Mom. She looked small in the orange jumpsuit, her carefully maintained image stripped away. "I found your journal," I said through the visiting room glass. She closed her eyes. "So now you know. Who is he? My real father? Does it matter? It mattered enough for you to punish me my entire life for it." She leaned forward. "I gave you a good life. You gave me trauma." I pressed my hand against the glass. "Every time you chose Sierra, every time you stole from me, every time you made me feel worthless, it was all because I reminded you of your guilt. I tried to love you." "No, you tried to erase me." I stood up. "But you failed, because I'm stronger than your shame." Outside, I called Emmett. "I'm selling the house," I said when he answered. "Are you sure? You fought hard for it." "It's not a victory if I keep it. It's just another chain." I watched the sunset paint the sky purple. I want to be free. That night, I sat with Audrey on my balcony, sharing wine and truth. "So, what now?" she asked. "Now, I write my own story." I showed her the real estate listings I'd been browsing, small houses with garden space, far from my family's shadow. Something that's just mine. "And your parents? Sierra?" "Sierra will serve time for vehicular manslaughter. Less than she deserves, but more than she expected." I sipped my wine. "Mom and Dad are facing fraud charges. Their reputation is destroyed. Their friends have abandoned them." "And that's enough?" "No, but it's justice." I smiled slightly. "Besides, living well is the best revenge." My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. The first contact since the arrest. "I should have been better," it read. "Not because you weren't mine by blood, but because you were mine by choice. I failed you, I'm sorry." I showed Audrey the message. "Are you going to respond?" she asked. "No." I deleted it. Some bridges need to stay burned. The next morning I met with a real estate agent at the house. As she talked about market values and staging, I walked through the rooms one last time. In my old bedroom I found a small heart carved into the window frame. My secret mark from childhood. I traced it with my finger, remembering the girl who dreamed of being loved. "I'm sorry," I whispered to her, "but I love you now, and that's enough." The agent called me downstairs. As I walked through the front door, I didn't look back. The house that held so many painful memories would soon belong to someone else. Let them fill it with better stories. My phone rang. Emmett again. "The DA has one last question," he said. "Do you want to make a victim impact statement at the sentencing?" I watched a moving truck pull up to the house, ready to clear out the last pieces of my old life. "No," I said. "I've said everything I need to say. Let the silence speak for itself." I hung up and got in my car. In the rearview mirror, the house grew smaller until it disappeared completely. Ahead, the road stretched open and empty. Not an ending, but a beginning. Some people say revenge doesn't bring peace. They're wrong. It brought me something better. It brought me home to myself.